Chapter 625. Ningqing suddenly asked Yijin. Do you have a detailed starry sky chart of the rootless Black City? No. Yijin shook his head. Their cultivations were still too low. The reason why they could come to the border city was that they had encountered an airship suspended in the void on the way. This starry sky chart was only owned by some major chambers of commerce and some fleets. Ordinary cultivators simply could not obtain it. At this time, Song Tong arrived in front of Ningqing's group. He glanced at Yijin and revealed a sneer. At the same time he cupped his fist towards Ningqing and spoke. Friend, I think you already know that my name is Song Tong. Fuck off. Ningqing spoke out without any trace of politeness. When Song Tong's complexion suddenly changed, Ningqing spoke up with even more disdain. I have no interest in trash like you who gave your Dao companion to others to sleep with. You better get out of my sight immediately. Otherwise, this day next year will be the first anniversary of your death. Song Tong's complexion turned completely livid. He never thought that Ningqing would be so direct and speak out the words that he did not want to mention the most in public. After some of the cultivators in the distance heard Ningqing's words, they immediately focused their gazes on Song Tong. Many of the people here knew Song Tong, and knew that Song Tong had a Dao companion, Zhang Lianrong. However, Zhang Lianrong had disappeared for some unknown reason. Many people thought that she had fallen in the starry sky. Only now did they understand that Song Tong had given his Dao companion to others to sleep with. No wonder this person's cultivation had soared in recent years. It turned out that this was the reason. Humph. Song Tong immediately gave a cold snort. He could not do anything to Ningqing, but someone would definitely help him. Song Tong had just finished giving a cold snort, but before he could even speak, Ningqing suddenly raised his hand and slapped him twice. Song Tong did not expect Ningqing to suddenly attack him. Even if he thought of it, he could not avoid Ningqing's two slaps. Pa-pa, with two sounds, Ningqing's two slaps directly sent Song Tong flying, leaving behind two blood trails in the air. Then, Song Tong drew an arc in the air before falling to the ground like a dead dog. The crowd could only see Song Tong struggling to get up on the ground. However, even after struggling for a long time, he still could not get up. The surrounding cultivators immediately changed the way they looked at Ningqing. Song Tong was a celestial novice cultivator. And in this place, one could say that no one could match him. Who would dare to disobey Song Tong's words? Who would dare to disobey Song Tong? But now Song Tong was slapped to the ground by this cultivator, and he couldn't even struggle up. Even a crucible transformation cultivator could see at this moment that Song Tong's cultivation had been completely wasted by this cultivator in front of him. Song Tong had offended Song Tong here, knowing that once he lost his cultivation, he would never see the sun again. It was true that Song Tong was Steward Miao's lackey because he could still walk. If he couldn't walk, then he wouldn't even be considered a dog. Steward Miao would never raise such a useless person. Tian's Tong Chen Chen King had a Chung. Tian 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 Tian, a Chung had a Chen Tian. The cultivator in front of her could send Song Tong flying with a slap, which meant that the other party could also send her flying with a slap. The Chung Chen Chen Tian Tian, the Chen Chen Chung Tian chamber, the of the sect, the Chung of the cultiva Chen Feng, Chung Chung, Chun. No, I'm from the Border City's Chamber of Commerce. The Border City's Chamber of Commerce has a cultivator item exchange in progress. When Song Tong went to report to Steward Miao and several other guests invited their friends to go together. Therefore, I came here to pass on a message. If this friend doesn't want to go, I can go back and give a reply. How could Ningqing not know the story behind this? Someone must have overheard Song Tong and Mao Wuqian's report that he had a grade 3 celestial pill on him. Or Mao Wuqian, in order to share the benefits, asked him to take the initiative to deliver the pill. If he refused, then once this female cultivator went back and reported, someone would immediately come to teach him a lesson for not knowing how to appreciate kindness. No. Ningqing flatly refused. It was not that he was afraid of this cultivator exchange. With his current cultivation, it would be useless for him to go to this low-level cultivator exchange. Yes, sorry for disturbing this friend. The female cultivator quickly bowed and turned around to leave. As for Song Tong, who was lying on the side, she did not even glance at him. Wait! Ning Chung suddenly called out to the pretty-looking female cultivator. The pretty-looking female cultivator felt her heart tremble. She quickly stopped and turned around to return the courtesy. Does this friend have any other instructions? Just now, Ning Chung had sent Song Tong flying with 2 slaps and even abolished Song Tong's cultivation. With this kind of strength, if he wanted to deal with her, it would not take more than a few moves. Song Tong was just a barely celestial novice cultivator. Although she was better than Song Tong, she was not much better. Even if someone killed this foreign cultivator, who did not know the immensity of heaven and earth, she would not be able to recover her cultivation. No one would come to restore her cultivation for an insignificant cultivator like her. I want to buy a detailed starry sky chart of this starry sky. It would be best if it could touch on the edges of the various low-level interfaces. Can you tell me which store in the border city can I buy it? When the female cultivator heard Ning Cheng's question, she felt relieved and carefully replied, Friend, it would be difficult to buy this starry sky chart. None of the major stores sell it. This starry sky chart is only owned by some of the major chambers of commerce. However, these chambers of commerce do not sell these starry sky charts. The female cultivator did not explain why these chambers of commerce did not sell these starry sky charts. However, Ning Chung had already guessed some of the reasons. Once these starry sky charts were sold, it would definitely affect the chambers of commerce's business. Ning Chung suddenly frowned. Although his starry sky will contained a starry sky chart, it was not complete because he had not fully refined it. It only contained some major directions, while many minor directions were missing. If he could not purchase a starry sky chart to reach the rootless Black City, he would have to explore it by himself. If he went in the wrong direction, it would take too much time. In any case, he had to get his hands on a starry sky chart. If not, he could go to the supporting Taro Star's Celestial Lord and rob it. He and Miao Pu had a lot of enmity between them, so he might as well kill this sharp-chinned Celestial Lord. Where is Miao Pu? Ning Chung thought of this and immediately asked. Miao Pu? The female cultivator immediately felt shocked. She immediately realized who Miao Pu was. Wasn't he the supporting Taro Star's Celestial Lord? This foreign cultivator truly had some guts. No wonder he disregarded the consequences and crippled Song Tong. Yet he dared to ask where Miao Pu was? Wasn't this just courting death? A trivial Celestial Shatterer cultivator dared to ask about the whereabouts of the Celestial Lord. Although she despised Ning Chung in her heart, the female cultivator still spoke with a respectful tone on the surface. Sir Celestial Lord went to Second Revenant Star and has not returned yet. After that, she did not wait for Ning Chung to continue asking and took the initiative to speak. If this friend wants to buy this starry sky chart, it is not impossible. Oh, can you get it? Ning Chung looked at this female cultivator in doubt. This female cultivator did not seem to have a high status. Could she help him get a starry sky chart? This little sister's cultivation is still low, so I naturally cannot get a starry sky chart. However, the cultivator exchange meeting I mentioned just now is filled with some big shots. Some of them definitely have this kind of starry sky chart. The female cultivator replied with a respectful tone. Ning Chung thought that this cultivator exchange meeting was definitely a high-grade exchange meeting in the border city. Moreover, the people who went in should have some status, which meant that they would definitely have this kind of starry sky chart. Thinking of this, Ning Chung nodded to this female cultivator and spoke. Lead the way, I will also go to this exchange meeting. Saying that, Ning Chung then turned to Yi Jin and his wife and spoke. You can wait for me here. After I get the map, I will come here immediately. Yi Jin and his wife quickly agreed. Ning Chung had just destroyed the cultivation of a celestial novice cultivator with 2 slaps, which truly shocked them. It stood to reason that a celestial shatterer cultivator would not be able to destroy the cultivation of a celestial novice cultivator so easily. Since Ning Chung could do it so easily, it could only mean that Ning Cheng's strength far exceeded that of ordinary celestial shatterer cultivators. The border city's Chamber of Commerce was located on the most conspicuous main street of the border city. The history of this Chamber of Commerce was even longer than Miao Pu's tenure as the supporting Taro Star's Celestial Lord. They heard that the first association head was already a heaven-seated expert. However, After this association had left the supporting Taro star, he never returned. Nevertheless, the border city still enjoyed a supreme status in the supporting Taro star. Even Celestial Lord Miao Pu would not dare to point fingers at this chamber of commerce. Ning Cheng pulled Shi Qianghua along and followed the female cultivator to the 5th floor of the border city's chamber of commerce, before entering a luxurious and huge hall. The hall was brightly lit, illuminating the entire hall. Nearly 200 cultivators sat on both sides of the hall, with more than a dozen female attendants standing on either side. When Ning Cheng came in, the cultivators in the hall immediately cast their gazes over. However, no one spoke. There were a total of 5 or 6 cultivators sitting at the head of the hall. One of them, a middle-aged man with a yellow face, glanced at Ning Cheng before his gaze fell on Shi Qianghua and spoke with a calm voice. "Friend, the one Song Tong mentioned should be you, right? Do you have some grade 3 celestial pills?" "Yes, it's me." Ning Cheng did not wait for others to greet him, and took the initiative to find 2 seats before sitting down together with Shi Qianghua. "My name is Wuxian. Although it is not in line with the rules for you to come now, I still invited you. I hope that your grade 3 celestial pills can bring some surprises to the exchange." The middle-aged man, on seeing that Ning Cheng did not seem to put him in his eyes, showed a slight frown. He had called Ning Cheng over for 2 purposes. The first was to let the other cultivators exchange for some grade 3 celestial pills. In this way, many people here would feel grateful to him. The second reason was that he wanted to recruit Ning Cheng for his own use. There were not many celestial shatterer cultivators in the border city. If this foreign celestial shatterer cultivator joined his camp, it would definitely help the Miao clan's chamber of commerce grow even stronger. Of course, there was another purpose. That is, he had heard that this celestial shatterer cultivator had a beautiful Dao companion. Now that he looked at it, it really was the case. The female cultivator sitting next to this celestial shatterer cultivator was much stronger than all the women in his immortal cave's inner courtyard. Chapter 626. This Miao Wuxian really relied on the prestige of Celestial Lord Miao Pu to sit at the same table as the people from the exchange meet. However, Ning Cheng did not even put Miao Pu in his eyes, so how could he put a trivial Miao Wuxian in his eyes? He simply did not bother to pay any attention to Miao Wuxian, and directly wanted to take out something to exchange for a starry sky chart. With the starry sky chart, he would immediately leave. Even staying here for a day would make him feel uncomfortable. Miao Wuxian's face turned cold, and his anger flared up. If this foreign cultivator did not know his name the first time, then it was excusable. But this second time, this fellow simply did not put him in his eyes at all. At this moment, a man with the starry sky's vicissitudes of life stood up, raised a piece of silver material and spoke. "I have a piece of exotic desolate extreme essence here. I want to exchange it for a good flight-type weapon, or a defensive weapon." Everyone's eyes immediately focused on the silver material in the man's hand. Even Ning Cheng looked at this man in doubt. He vaguely felt that this man taking out something to exchange at this time seemed to deliberately interrupt Miao Wuxian's anger and help him. If this was the case, then this person did not have a bad heart. However, the other party only had a celestial shatterer cultivation. If he made Miao Wuxian feel uncomfortable, then it would definitely not end well for him. What caught Ning Cheng's attention the most was not this, but the exotic desolate extreme essence in his hand. Ning Cheng also had a piece of exotic desolate extreme essence in his hand, which he obtained from the Angry Axe Valley. This was a top-grade artifact crafting material from a low-level interface. Moreover, the value of this artifact crafting material was no lower than some starry sky materials. For some weapons, the price of the exotic desolate extreme essence was even higher. This person took out an exotic desolate extreme essence. Did it also come from the graceful star mainland? Thinking of this, Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness immediately penetrated it. The Angry Axe Valley's exotic desolate extreme essence contained a kind of axe intent. As such, Ning Cheng immediately understood it. A kind of origin aura instantly caught Ning Cheng's attention. This was not an exotic desolate extreme essence, but a metal-attributed origin crystal. Ning Cheng felt shocked in his heart. He did not expect to see a metal-attributed origin crystal in such a small place in this border city. It reminded him of the Fire Origin crystal. He had originally found the Fire Origin bead based on the origin of the Fire Origin crystal. I bid a high-grade domain class battleship. Another cultivator immediately made a bid. Ningcheng felt a little speechless at this price. An advanced domain-level battleship was not even a celestial-grade battleship. It was not even enough to purchase a genuine exotic desolate extreme essence, let alone a metal-attributed origin crystal. Miao Wuxian, who was about to attack Ningcheng, immediately turned his attention to the cultivator, who suddenly took out the exotic desolate extreme essence. His expression was somewhat gloomy, while his spiritual sense also fell on the exotic desolate extreme essence. After a while his expression changed, and his eyes were filled with shock. This kind of shock only lasted for an instant before it returned to normal. Ningcheng knew that this Miao Wuqian truly had a lot of experience and should have recognized the metal-attributed origin crystal. I offer a high-grade celestial battleship. Miao Wuqian's words immediately shocked the cultivators in the hall. The exotic desolate extreme essence was indeed a very valuable artifact crafting material. Moreover, it was extremely rare. However, even so, it was not worth a high-grade celestial battleship. Miao Wuqian was also helpless. He did not have a mid-grade celestial battleship. Otherwise, he would definitely not have mentioned a high-grade celestial battleship. The man who took out the exotic desolate extreme essence also did not expect that his exotic desolate extreme essence could be exchanged for a high-grade celestial battleship. According to his original intentions, as long as this exotic desolate extreme essence could be exchanged for a low-grade celestial battleship, or even a peak-grade domain-level battleship, he would have been satisfied. Just when he was about to agree, a voice abruptly interrupted him. I offer a middle-grade flight-type Dao artifact, plus a middle-grade defensive-type Dao artifact. All eyes immediately focused on Ningcheng. If exchanging a high-grade battleship for an exotic desolate extreme essence was already outrageous enough, then exchanging a middle-grade flight-type Dao artifact for an exotic desolate extreme essence was not as simple as it seemed. What's more, a middle-grade flight-type Dao artifact coupled with a middle-grade defensive-type Dao artifact, it was simply insane. Within the starry skies, there were two types of flight-type weapons. One was the technological battleships, and the other was the flight-type weapons crafted by cultivators. For starry skies cultivators, these two types of weapons were more inclined towards crafting weapons. Not only could these weapons be of any size, but they were also much more flexible compared to technological battleships. If put together a middle-grade flight-type Dao artifact and a beginner-level Celestial River-class battleship, most cultivators would choose the middle-grade Dao artifact. However, someone actually took out a middle-grade flight-type Dao artifact for an exotic desolate extreme essence, not to mention adding a middle-grade defensive-type Dao artifact. As long as one did not go crazy, everyone would know what to choose. At this time, even an idiot would realize that this exotic desolate extreme essence was not something simple. How could a cultivator who could cultivate to the celestial scryer realm be an idiot? Even the cultivator who took out the exotic desolate extreme essence felt a little puzzled. Did he not have the exotic desolate extreme essence in his hand? Miao Wuqian gave a heavy cold snort and regarded Ningcheng as a dead man. Although he was rich, he could not casually offer a middle-grade flight-type Dao artifact plus a middle-grade defensive-type Dao artifact like Ningcheng. You choose. Miao Wuqian stared coldly at the cultivator, who took out the exotic desolate extreme essence, and spoke with an ice-cold tone. This was clearly a threat. If one had to choose between a high-grade celestial battleship and a middle-grade flight-type Dao artifact plus a middle-grade defensive-type Dao artifact, even a fool would choose two middle-grade Dao artifacts. Miao Wuqian spoke those words to remind the cultivator that if he did not choose to trade with him, it would be equivalent to courting death. The cultivator's face turned a little ugly. If Ningcheng had not offered, he would have happily chosen to trade with Miao Wuqian. But now that Ningcheng's offer was much higher than Miao Wuqian's, this Miao Wuqian still wanted him to choose. This threat was just too blatant. If he did not choose Miao Wuqian, even if he obtained two middle-grade Dao artifacts, he estimated that he would not be able to gain a foothold in the border city. He might even end up losing his life. Haha. Ningcheng laughed. This father has seen many shameless people, but I have never seen such a shameless piece of trash like you. Miao Wuqian turned furious. He could not tolerate Ningcheng sitting here for even a moment. He suddenly stood up, and his imposing aura crazily spread out, filling the entire hall with a desolate aura. Ningcheng wanted to wait until he bought the things before killing this Miao Wuqian. But since this fellow was so eager to court death, then he might as well help him out. Ningcheng was just about to stand up and kill this fellow when a white-faced man sitting next to Miao Wuqian suddenly stood up with a smile and spoke. Everyone coming to my border city's Chamber of Commerce to participate in the exchange meet is an honor for my border city's Chamber of Commerce. My border city's Chamber of Commerce attaches great importance to credibility. I ask all the friends here to give this Long Ziwen some face. If you have any disputes, do not cause any trouble in my Chamber of Commerce. After the exchange meet, you can do whatever you want. Miao Wuqian hesitated for a moment before glancing at Ningcheng with a cold gaze. Only then did he sit down again. From this, one could see that he still felt some fear towards the border city's Chamber of Commerce. Ningcheng, on seeing that Miao Wuqian was not in a hurry to court death, also did not rush to kill him. Instead, he took out a medicinal pill and placed it on the table in front of him before speaking. This is a harmonizing celestial pill, and a top-quality one. Ningcheng had not even finished his sentence when he was interrupted by the fiery gazes and exclamations from the surroundings. At this moment, all the cultivators in the hall stared at the medicinal pill in front of Ningcheng with red eyes. A few cultivators even stood up and looked as if they wanted to rush towards Ningcheng to snatch it. Harmonizing celestial pill. A pill that could help a celestial gatherer cultivator break through to the celestial bridge realm. Who would not want such a medicinal pill? As for whether it was a top-quality medicinal pill or not, it had long since been ignored by others. In this small place, why would anyone care about a top-quality medicinal pill? As long as there was a harmonizing celestial pill, it would definitely drive people crazy. Miao Wuqian also stared at the harmonizing celestial pill with red eyes. He swore in his heart that he must get his hands on this medicinal pill. He was only a step away from the celestial bridge realm. As long as he obtained this medicinal pill, he would definitely be able to advance to the celestial bridge realm. At that time, he would become an overlord of a region. Although the cultivators in the hall stared at the harmonizing celestial pill with red eyes, no one dared to come forward to snatch it. It was not because they feared Ningcheng, but because this was the exchange meet. Once anyone tried to snatch it, it would only be courting death. Friend, how do you want to trade for this harmonizing celestial pill? Long Ziwen, who had just asked the others to give him some face, was the first to ask. He also had a full-circle celestial gatherer cultivation, and was only a step away from advancing to the celestial bridge realm. As such, the attraction of the harmonizing celestial pill for him was no less than Miao Wuqian's. I want to buy the most detailed starry sky chart, preferably one that has access to the boundaries of the various low-leveled interfaces. Ningcheng spoke with a calm voice. As soon as Ningcheng spoke those words, many of the cultivators felt a little lost. They did not have such a jade strip. Even some of the deacons of the smaller chambers of commerce, who had access to the jade strips, hesitated. Every chamber of commerce's jade strip contained a map similar to a treasure-gathering plate, which would not be easily traded. Within the starry skies and the void, there were countless meteorite flows, demonic beasts and other unknown dangers. Therefore, having a safe route was the trump card of the major chambers of commerce. Miao Wuqian suddenly felt a little regretful. If he had known that this foreign cultivator had such a good thing, he would never have let this cultivator come here. He would have taken the initiative to leave this exchange meet to find this cultivator and get his hands on his things first. Despite the regret in his heart, Miao Wuqian was the first to take out a jade strip and raised it up. I have a detailed starry sky chart here, which includes the locations of many of the surrounding low-leveled interfaces. Miao Wuqian still held the jade strip in his hand as he spoke. However, Long Ziwen directly handed over a jade strip to Ningcheng. Friend, this is my border city's Chamber of Commerce's most precious starry sky chart. Not only does it mark the locations of many low-leveled true cultivation interfaces, but it also contains the names of the routes, as well as the possible dangers along the way. Once Miao Wuqian and Long Ziwen took action, the others knew that they would not have the opportunity even if they wanted to. It was not that they were not as strong as these two people, but the jade strips these two people took out were definitely the most detailed. Even if they wanted to take out something like this, they would not be able to compare to these two people. Ning Cheng grabbed Long Ziwen's jade strip and casually swept it with his spiritual consciousness. He immediately understood that this was a truly detailed starry sky chart. Moreover, it even contained the location and name of the rootless Black City. Regardless of whether it was someone else's, Ningqing no longer had any interest in looking at the rest. He raised his hand and put away the jade strip before picking up the harmonizing celestial pill and speaking. "I'll trade with you." "Wait." Miao Wuqian felt anxious and no longer cared about the rules, and called out on the spot. Chapter 627. Ningqing completely ignored Miao Wuqian, and threw the medicinal pill to Long Ziwen before standing up. Now that he had obtained what he wanted, why would he continue to talk to Miao Wuqian? "Brother Miao, the transaction is over." Long Ziwen held back his excitement and put away the medicinal pill before speaking. Miao Wuqian's face turned dark, and at this moment, the communication pearl in his hand suddenly lit up. He looked down at the communication pearl and immediately shouted, "You killed Song Tong. Today, I, Miao Wuqian, swear that if I let you walk out of this door, I, Miao Wuqian, will be killed by lightning." While speaking, Miao Wuqian's gaze swept towards Long Ziwen, who stood at the side. Although he spoke such ruthless words, it was not meant for this celestial shatterer cultivator with the harmonizing celestial pill, but rather for Long Ziwen to hear. Long Ziwen also felt shocked when he heard Miao Wuqian's words. Song Tong was one of Miao Wuqian's lackeys, something he knew very well. If this cultivator killed Song Tong, then he really could not speak up for him. Besides, he had already obtained the harmonizing celestial pill. If he continued to oppose Miao Wuqian, then it might cause Miao Wuqian to retaliate. Miao Wuqian's oath was definitely meant for him to hear. If he still opposed Miao Wuqian killing this foreign cultivator after obtaining the harmonizing celestial pill, then he and Miao Wuqian would definitely end up in a fight. Thinking of this, he did not continue to speak about the border city's Chamber of Commerce, and chose to remain silent. Ningqing spoke up in a calm voice. "You're right, I crippled Song Tong. I originally wanted to kill Miao Pu, but unfortunately, this fellow's luck was really good. He was not in the supporting Taro Star, and picked up a dog's life. Therefore, I can only kill a few small things to vent my anger." Before his voice fell, Ningqing's powerful imposing aura swept out. Although he was only targeting Miao Wuqian, the cultivators on both sides felt a strong suppression. Even Long Ziwen, who stood next to Miao Wuqian, felt his breathing becoming difficult. At this moment, almost everyone's expressions changed drastically. Originally, everyone thought that Ningqing would die, but now no one dared to think so. Everyone stimulated their celestial essence, trying to ease the suppression. This was definitely a powerful suppression in terms of strength. Only those who were far stronger than them could exert such terrifying suppression. Miao Wuqian, who bore the brunt of the pressure, turned even paler, and spat out a mouthful of blood. Without waiting for him to speak, a giant hand condensed from pure celestial essence enveloped Miao Wuqian, grabbed his neck, and lifted him up. At this time, those cultivators who were still plotting to wait for Ningqing to come out and plot against Ningqing, while also preparing to snatch the rest of the things on Ningqing's body, were now in a dilemma. To be able to lift Miao Wuqian with his celestial essence giant hand, what kind of cultivation was this? This not only required a powerful domain, but also a powerful celestial essence to support it. Some cultivators even thought that Ningqing was an expert in the heaven-seated realm. Robbing such a cultivator was simply courting death. At this moment, no one dared to utter a single word. He was afraid that if he angered Ningqing, then the next one to be picked up would be him. Say, Senior. Miao Wuqian, who was picked up by Ningqing's celestial essence giant hand, felt scared out of his mind. At this moment, he wished he could slap himself a few times. This person could take out the harmonizing celestial pills in such an arrogant manner, while completely ignoring him, Miao Wuqian. How could this person be a simple person? He had always been arrogant in the border city. Yet he never thought of this. You just said that if I walked out of this door, you would be killed by lightning? Ningqing looked at Miao Wuqian and asked in a calm tone. Miao Wuqian begged for mercy. Senior, please spare my life. This junior's dog eyes were blind. I was just talking nonsense. Ningqing showed a slight smile. You're not talking nonsense. As he spoke, several lightning arcs suddenly appeared out of thin air and fell on top of Miao Wuqian's head. Boom boom boom. Under the bombardment of several lightning arcs, Miao Wuqian's spiritual soul completely extinguished, and even his corpse turned into a pile of black dry firewood. The hall turned even more silent, and even breathing became suppressed. Who didn't want to live and dared to speak at this time? Everyone was thinking about the lightning arcs from a moment ago. Miao Wuqian had just said that he would be killed by the lightning arcs. Yet he was killed by the lightning arcs. Retribution came too quickly. With such powerful means, no one doubted that this cultivator could kill the supporting Taro Star's celestial lord Miao Pu. Miao Pu was just an undead cultivator, and at most had the same level of power as this cultivator. Many thanks for Senior's pill. Long Ziwen braced himself and spoke up in a respectful tone. This was his territory, and the senior in front of him had just killed Miao Wuqian. If he still pretended to be dead and did not speak, then in case this senior became angry, the entire border city would turn to dust. Ningqing gave an sound and did not care about Long Ziwen. Instead, he stared at the cultivator who had just taken out the exotic desolate extreme essence and spoke. Can I go out with you and have a talk? This junior obeys. The cultivator quickly bowed and did not dare to say any words. It was not until Ningqing pulled Shi Qianghua and the cultivator out of the hall that the cultivators in the hall breathed a sigh of relief. Some of the cultivators with poor endurance had already broken out in cold sweat. Everyone was thinking about where this powerful powerhouse had come from. However, no one dared to continue talking about Ningqing. As for the treasures on this senior's body, they did not even dare to think about it. Senior, this junior is willing to exchange a Dao artifact with Senior. Just as they walked out of the border city's Chamber of Commerce, the cultivator immediately took out the ore. Ningqing put away the ore, and still handed over a flight-type magical weapon and a defensive-type magical weapon to the cultivator. No, just exchange for two. This thing is indeed not the exotic desolate extreme essence. However, it would not be of any use to you. I can see that the cultivation method you cultivate should be biased towards the fire attribute. Yes, this junior's primary spiritual root is truly of the fire attribute. The cultivator quickly replied with a bow. At the same time, he carefully put away the two magical weapons, while feeling excited in his heart. In just a blink of an eye, he had obtained a middle-grade flight-type Dao artifact and a middle-grade defensive-type magical weapon. With these two things, with his current ability, even if he left the supporting Taro Star, he could still go to other places. Ningqing nodded. I only have one thing to ask you. Where did you get this crystal stone? The cultivator had already guessed that Ningqing wanted to ask him about this. Otherwise, he would not have called him out. He immediately replied. This crystal stone was given to me by a senior in the starry skies outside the supporting Taro Star more than a decade ago. Ningqing felt a little disappointed in his heart. In this case, he only obtained a metal origin crystal. It would be impossible for him to obtain a metal-attributed origin bead. Moreover, he would not have the luck to obtain the fire origin bead every time. Thinking of this, Ningqing felt relieved. However, Ningqing believed that this cultivator should not have spoken nonsense. A place that could form a metal origin crystal was definitely a dangerous place filled with metal qi. This cultivator only had a celestial shatterer cultivation. As such, he should not have been able to get close to such a place and obtain an origin crystal without dying. Besides, even if this cultivator obtained the metal-attributed origin crystal and did not die, he would not have taken out the metal origin crystal wrapped in a layer of exotic desolate extreme essence. What did the senior who gave you the crystal stone look like? Ningqing asked again. The celestial shatterer cultivator quickly drew a vague image in the air. Senior, I can only remember some vague images. As for the senior's specific appearance, this junior did not dare to pry. Ningqing sighed and said, I see. You can go now. Thank you. Yes, many thanks for senior's generous gift. This junior will take his leave. The cultivator bowed and quickly left. Ningqing put away the origin crystal. He knew that if this fellow who gave the origin crystal to the celestial shatterer cultivator knew that he had given away an origin crystal, then he would definitely be a rich person. Even he would not casually give away an origin crystal to a cultivator who gave him directions. Senior apprentice brother Ning is back. When Ningqing once again arrived at the row of shabby residences outside the border city, Yijin and Chang Manin immediately greeted him in surprise. Big brother Jin and I were worried that Miao Wuqian would come looking for trouble. Chang Manin truly felt worried that Ningqing would come looking for trouble. It was not only because Ningqing had saved her and Yijin's lives, but more importantly, it involved seeing their daughter, Yizhuju. If something happened to Ningqing, even if they knew that their daughter was in the rootless Black City, it would still be difficult for them to go there. Ningqing showed a smile. He wanted to find trouble with me, but I killed him. Killing Miao Wuqian, and yet still acting as if nothing had happened? Yijin and Chang Manin looked at Ningqing in a sluggish manner. Let's not talk about this. Now that I have the map, let's go to the rootless Black City and have a look. Ningqing could not wait any longer. If not for this map, he would have already left this place. Yes. Yijin and Chang Manin suppressed the shock and puzzlement in their hearts, and did not ask Ningqing anything. Although Ningqing spoke in an approachable manner, they were not familiar with Ningqing. The huge gap in cultivation created a constraint that could not be made up with just a few words. The starry sky chart given by Long Ziwen was indeed very detailed. Following this starry sky chart, it only took Ningqing's spiritual consciousness 5 days to reach the rootless Black City. The rootless Black City remained the same as before, with the array formation he had arranged outside. Ningqing did not use his spiritual consciousness to break through the rootless Black City's array formation. He felt very anxious, fearing that once his spiritual consciousness broke through the array formation, he would find that Luofei was not in the rootless Black City. The two of you come out with me. We've arrived at the rootless Black City. Ningqing called out to the Yijin couple, who were still cultivating on the deck. What? We've arrived at the rootless Black City? Yijin and Chang Manin suddenly stood up and looked at Ningqing in disbelief. Their eyes filled with shock. Reaching the rootless Black City from the supporting Taro star in 5 days, even someone in the heaven-seated realm would find it difficult, right? They had initially thought that it would take at least a few years before they could reach the rootless Black City. However, 5 days it truly shocked them. Despite the shock, the two of them still came down from the starry sky wheel. When the two of them saw the gray city suspended in the void in front of them and the words Rootless Black City at the city gate, they finally believed that they had truly arrived at the Rootless Black City. Ningqing did not lie. Chapter 628. City Master. A surprised voice sounded out. Shuxing, is that you? You didn't leave the Rootless Black City? That's not right. Ningqing also recognized this cultivator. It was Xu Xing from the Star Gathering Mansion, one of the top 10 academies of the graceful Star Mainland. When he killed the Rootless Black City's city master and returned to the Rootless Black City, he happened to meet Xu Xing and Bu Mei in the Rootless Black City. Because the two of them did not have enough black coins to pay for the entrance fee, he helped them. Later, Xu Xing started working in the Rootless Black City's city master's mansion. Bu Mei was his Dao companion. When Ningqing heard that Bu Mei was his Dao companion, he felt a little surprised. After all, Bu Mei was a disciple of the Severing Emotions Dao sect. Ningqing didn't like the disciples of the Severing Emotions Dao sect. These people were selfish. Once they wanted to sever their emotions, they would have no feelings for the people around them. What Ningqing said was not that Xu Xing had not left, but that when he met Xu Xing, he was already at the Crucible Transformation 2nd level. Later, he stayed with him in the Rootless Black City for a while, allowing his cultivation to rise. But now Ningqing found that Xu Xing had just reached the Crucible Transformation 1st level. In other words, after all these years, Xu Xing's cultivation had not only not improved, but had also declined. However, Ningqing was not in the mood to ask about this. What he cared about most was Luofei. Xu Xing, is my wife Ji Luofei alright? Xu Xing's expression changed slightly, and he turned silent. Ning Cheng's heart tightened. He no longer considered the possibility of destroying the rootless Black City's restrictions. Instead, his spiritual consciousness flooded out. Under Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness, the entire rootless Black City's restrictions appeared in front of Ning Cheng's eyes like an unguarded open-air public square. Ning Cheng immediately saw Ijuju. Ijuju was cultivating in the city master's mansion's cave with the densest starry sky essence qi. There was also a man cultivating inside the cave. However, he did not see Ji Luofei. Ning Cheng's complexion immediately sank. This immortal cave was the place where he and Luofei cultivated. He did not have any opinion on Ijuju cultivating in this place. However, Ijuju unexpectedly allowed a man to cultivate in this place, which made Ning Cheng furious. He believed that with Luofei's temperament, even if she wanted to leave the rootless Black City, she would take Ijuju with her. Ijuju had not left, which meant that Luofei had not left the rootless Black City. If Luofei did not leave, Ijuju should not have let this man enter. In any case, Ijuju was adopted by him. Moreover, he had also brought Ijuju's parents back to the rootless Black City, before he Xing Cheng's master. Xing not master. He looked back at Xu Xing and asked, "Did my wife Ji Luofei leave the rootless Black City? Who is the current city master of the rootless Black City?" Xu Xing quickly replied, "Since city master Ijuju fell into the Bridge of Storms 10 years ago, the rootless Black City has been managed by city master Ijuju." "Ijuju?" Chang Manin called out in a trembling voice. Ning Cheng ignored Chang Manin and used his spiritual consciousness blades to attack the cave where Ijuju and the man cultivated. The violent celestial essence fluctuations caused the two people to spit out a mouthful of blood, causing the two people in the middle of cultivation to immediately stand up in shock. No matter what happened, Luofei ended up trapped in the Bridge of Storms. Since Ijuju brought a male cultivator into Luofei's cultivation place, Ning Cheng would never forgive her. Ning Cheng pulled Shi Qianghua to the city master's mansion in just a few steps. Xu Xing quickly followed them. Ijuju and the male cultivator had just come out of the city master's mansion when they saw Ning Cheng with a gloomy face. She subconsciously wanted to greet him, but then her expression changed. Her entire body froze, as if she had remembered something. Juju. Even after many years, Chang Manin and Yijin still recognized Ijuju at a glance. Dadum. Only then did Ijuju see that her parents were here. She couldn't control her emotions and rushed forward. At this moment, even Ning Cheng was forgotten by her. Ning Cheng's face turned cold and did not speak. After all these years, Ijuju had already reached the first level of plundering life realm. From this, it could be seen that her qualifications were truly unparalleled. It should be due to the limitation of cultivation resources. Otherwise, she might have already advanced to the domain realm. The male cultivator who came out with Ijuju only had the cultivation of Crucible Transformation 6th level. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept out and understood that his qualifications were much worse than Ijuju's. Ning Cheng had 2 wives, and his cultivation had already reached the peak of the Celestial Bridge realm. From the aura emanating from Ijuju and this male cultivator, he could immediately feel that the two of them had already consummated their marriage. Juju, hurry up and greet your uncle Ning. If not for senior apprentice brother Ning's help, how could your father and I have the opportunity to come here to see you? We would have died a long time ago. Chang Manin suddenly remembered that her daughter did not greet Ning Cheng, which was too impolite. In any case, Ning Cheng had saved their family of 3. Moreover, Ning Cheng had also raised Ijuju. In the face of such a great grace, her daughter actually ignored Ning Cheng. It was a pleasant surprise for the family of 3 to meet again, but in any case, this surprise had to be suppressed. Uncle. Ijuju arrived in front of Ning Cheng with a complicated expression and bowed. Ning Cheng did not respond to Ijuju's greeting and just spoke up calmly. Where did Luofei go? Why did another male cultivator come to Luofei's cultivation place? The male cultivator's spiritual consciousness swept over Ning Cheng without any scruples. When he found that Ning Cheng did not have any imposing aura, his eyes immediately showed disdain. Juju, who is this fellow? Ijuju quickly stopped the male cultivator. Brother Hang, don't talk nonsense, this is Uncle Ning Cheng. Oh, I know, Ji Luofei's Dao companion. As the male cultivator spoke, his eyes fell on Shi Qianghua. He did not put Ning Cheng in his eyes because he knew that Yi Zhuzhu was powerful. Yi Zhuzhu was at the first level of plundering life realm. However, even a late-stage plundering life realm cultivator would not stand a chance against Yi Zhuzhu. What's more, in the rootless Black City, Yi Zhuzhu was the city master. As long as she called out, countless troops, cultivators, and powerhouses would immediately rush over. Get out of here now. Ning Cheng coldly stared at the male cultivator behind Yi Zhuzhu and spoke with a cold voice. Yi Zhuzhu's face immediately turned pale. Even Yi Jin and Chang Manin felt that something was wrong. This male cultivator seemed to have an unusual relationship with their daughter, and Ning Cheng seemed to feel very uncomfortable with this male cultivator. If not for Shi Qianghua, who stood beside Ning Cheng, being countless times more outstanding than Yi Zhuzhu, they would have thought that Ning Cheng liked their daughter, Zhuzhu, which made him feel uncomfortable. Ning Cheng, I've heard of your name. You killed the original city master through a sneak attack. Then, through an array formation, you plotted against several other forces in the rootless Black City, which allowed you to ascend to the position of city master. Zhuzhu is very grateful to you. However, people should know when to advance and when to retreat. While you were outside, Zhuzhu and I had worked hard to support the rootless Black City. Don't start pointing fingers at us. When the male cultivator heard Ning Cheng telling him to get lost, his eyes immediately flashed with murderous intent. Over the years in the rootless Black City, when had he ever heard such an insult? If not for Yi Zhuzhu's face, he would have immediately mobilized people to teach Ning Cheng a lesson. Ning Cheng simply ignored the male cultivator and calmly stared at Yi Zhuzhu. You answer my question. Yi Zhuzhu trembled slightly before bowing and speaking. Elder sister Luofei should be trapped in the Bridge of Storms. I've been trying to find a way to rescue elder sister Luofei, but I failed every time. Where is the Bridge of Storms? Ning Cheng's tone remained calm. However, Yi Jin and Chang Manin felt a little worried in their hearts. They could feel Ning Cheng's anger. City Master, I have a jade strip map to the Bridge of Storms. Xu Xing, who had followed Ning Cheng here, quickly took out a jade strip and handed it to Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng grabbed the jade strip and scanned it with his spiritual consciousness, causing the murderous intent in his heart to grow even stronger. He also had a jade strip map of this place. When Su Liangji wanted to plot against him, he had given him a similar jade strip map. The same location, the same place. It stood to reason that Luofei knew that this place was dangerous and would not go there. So why was she still trapped in this place? The male cultivator next to Yi Zhuzhu on hearing Xu Xing's words suddenly turned furious. Xu Xing, you were kicked out of the city master's mansion. Why did you come here? And who did you call city master? The current city master, Zhuzhu, is not an irrelevant person. Ning Cheng's murderous intent soared, but before he could act, Yi Jin had already flown up and raised his hand to slap him twice. The slap directly sent the man flying, and 2 lines of blood splashed in the air. He had been listening on the side for a long time, and had already understood some of the reasons. The male cultivator that his daughter liked didn't even put Ning Cheng in his eyes. Not to mention that Ning Cheng's cultivation could kill him in an instant. Even if he couldn't, this man was not a good match for his daughter. It was simply ungrateful. Dad, why did you hit Brother Hang? Yi Zhuzhu, on seeing the male cultivator sent flying by Yi Jin's 2 slaps, quickly rushed up and helped the male cultivator up before asking in panic. Yi Jin was just about to speak, but Ning Cheng stopped him. Ning Cheng calmly asked, Yi Zhuzhu, why did Luofei go to this place? Big sister Luofei heard that you were trapped in the Bridge of Storms. Feeling anxious, she took me there to find you. Yi Zhuzhu quickly replied. Ning Cheng sneered. Luofei knew that I would never go to that place, so how could I go there? If you don't give me a clear reason today, don't blame me for being ruthless. Senior. Hearing Ning Cheng's words, Yi Jin and Chang Manin called out anxiously. They didn't even dare to call him senior apprentice Brother Ning. Because Brother Hang happened to be nearby, and saw a large group of exploding golden wasps chasing you into the Bridge of Storms. He recorded it with a crystal ball. After big sister Luofei saw the crystal ball, she made up her mind to look for you. Yi Zhuzhu took in a deep breath and spoke the truth. Ning Cheng's cold gaze fell on the man supported by Yi Zhuzu. You saw me being chased into the Bridge of Storms, and even recorded it with a crystal ball? The male cultivator didn't answer Ning Cheng's words and directly spoke to Yi Zhuzu. Zhuzu, don't talk to an outsider. Just kill him. Brother Hang, Uncle Ning is my savior, and also the savior of my parents. Yi Zhuzu quickly tried to persuade him with a soft voice. Ning Cheng didn't continue to ask the male cultivator, but calmly looked at Yi Zhuzu and spoke. Yi Zhuzu, Luofei was trapped in the Bridge of Storms. How many times did you save her? When was the most recent time? 3 times. The most recent time was 9 years ago. Yi Zhuzu suddenly paused. Only then did she realize that she had saved big sister Luofei 3 times in the first year. She had never gone to save her big sister Luofei in the last 9 years. Ning Cheng's heart was filled with disappointment. Yi Zhuzu had little experience, so it was understandable for her to be deceived. If she still remembered the kindness he and Luofei had shown her, then even if she ended up being deceived, she would have tried her best to save Luofei. She could even forget a benefactor like Luofei. Towards such a fickle person, Ning Cheng had nothing to say. Chapter 629. Ning Cheng ignored the stunned Yi Zhuzu and coldly stared at the male cultivator next to Yi Zhuzu. Why did you make a fake crystal ball to deceive Luofei? I'll give you 3 breaths of time. If you don't speak within 3 breaths of time, then don't ever speak again. Zhuzu, this person insulted me in front of you. While speaking, the male cultivator called Brother Hang's face turned red with anger. It seemed that he could no longer hold back his anger. Fortunately, he knew that he was not Ning Cheng's opponent, and could only ask Yi Zhuzu to take action. Yi Zhuzu, who was still in a daze, seemed to have been reminded by the male cultivator. She immediately recovered and quickly spoke up to Ning Cheng. Uncle Ning, Brother Hang is my Dao companion. Ning Cheng raised his hand and waved it. Yi Zhuzu, who stood in front of him, was blasted away by a dozen meters and slammed into the wall. The next moment, Ning Cheng raised his hand and transformed it into a celestial essence palm. He then picked up the male cultivator called Brother Hang by Yi Zhuzu. At this moment, even Yi Zhuzu felt sluggish. She had not checked Ning Cheng's cultivation before. In her opinion, Ning Cheng was at most at the late-stage plundering life realm. Moreover, she had never thought of going against Ning Cheng. But now she never expected that Ning Cheng could suppress her with just his imposing aura. This showed that his cultivation was much higher than hers. The male cultivator finally felt fear at this moment. He also understood that the gap between Yi Zhuzu and Ning Cheng was just too big. But before he could beg for mercy, he felt his body lighten, and an invisible cover covered him completely. Senior, I said spare. The male cultivator had only spoken a few words when a ball of flame fell onto the invisible shield, completely enveloping him. A tearing scream erupted, and even Xu Xing, who stood on the side, subconsciously trembled. Don't. Yi Zhuzu screamed and rushed over, wanting to save the male cultivator under the burning flame. Unfortunately, with her cultivation, it was impossible for her to even come into contact with Ning Cheng's protective shield, not to mention saving him. Ning Cheng didn't even look at Yi Zhuzu. He just cupped his fists towards Yi Jin and Chang Manning couple and said, Many thanks for helping Yanji. Let's say our goodbyes. After that, Ning Cheng suddenly spoke up. Friends of the Rootless Black City, I am the former city master of the Rootless Black City, Ning Cheng. Today, I return to the Rootless Black City. Because I won't be staying for long, Xu Xing, the city master of the Rootless Black City. I will come back in a few days. If anyone dares, don't blame me for being rude. All the cultivators within the Rootless Black City looked at the sky in shock. Ning Cheng's voice, despite being separated by countless restrictions, was clearly transmitted to everyone's ears. With such cultivation, who would dare to refuse? What's more, in order to save the Rootless Black City, Ning Cheng had personally lured away the exploding gold peak. Every cultivator from the Rootless Black City had received such a huge favor. One could say that if one wanted to find the most prestigious person in the Rootless Black City, then it would undoubtedly be Ning Cheng. Almost at the same time as Ning Cheng finished this sentence, All the cultivators within the rootless Black City shouted out in unison in support of City Master Ning. Yi, on seeing that she couldn't open Ning Cheng's shield, rushed to Ning Cheng in tears, wanting to ask Ning Cheng to let go of her brother Hang. Yi, on seeing that she couldn't open Ning Cheng's shield, rushed to Ning Cheng in tears, wanting to ask Ning Cheng to let go of her brother Hang. Ning Cheng completely ignored Yi and just greeted Xu Xing, who had not yet sobered up from the surprise. His figure flashed and disappeared with Shi Qianghua. This male cultivator had tricked Luofei into the Bridge of Storms. No matter who he was, Ning Cheng had to kill him. If it weren't for Yi being tricked, he would have killed Yi without mercy. How could he let go of the murderer, who killed Luofei just because Yi pleaded for him? Yi Jin and Chang Manin stared at Ning Cheng's disappearing back. They naturally understood the meaning of Ning Cheng's last sentence. In other words, the couple had saved Yan Ji, while Ning Cheng had also saved the three of them. From now on, everyone's grievances were settled, and they no longer owed each other anything. There was one more sentence that he did not say. If Yi fell into his hands again, he would not hesitate to kill her. Don't go. Yi still screamed. However, Ning Cheng had already disappeared. Yi Jin quickly stepped forward and grabbed Yi. His daughter had gone too far. Her family's savior had arrived, yet she did not even utter a single word of thanks or greetings. Instead, she put all her heart and soul on the enemy who had killed her benefactor's wife. Kacha, the male cultivator wrapped in Ning Cheng's flame, finally died. His body gave out a crisp sound before dissipating into the air without a trace. Yi stared at her brother Hang, who had already disappeared. Her expression turned sluggish, while her entire body trembled. She remained silent for a long time. Zhu. Chang Manin called out to her daughter in worry and reached out to hold her daughter's hand. Yi slowly raised her hand and pushed Chang Manin's hand away. She stood still and looked in the direction where Ning Cheng disappeared. She clenched her fists, while her eyes slowly turned gray. Ning Cheng and Shi Qianghua rushed out of the rootless Black City. In just the time it took for an incense stick to burn, they arrived at the place indicated on the Jade Strip, the Bridge of Storms. As the breeze Buddhas approached, Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness finally found a bridge. To be more precise, it was a wind bridge made of breezes. The wind blew in the same shape as the bridge. Moreover, it did not spread out, nor did it stop. This wind bridge was nearly 100 miles long and stretched all the way to the edge of a broken void island. Only then did Ning Cheng notice that even his spiritual consciousness couldn't penetrate this broken void island. Qianghua, there might be some dangers here. You enter the miniature world first. I will go in and have a look. Ning Cheng believed that with his current cultivation, even if he did not place the miniature world within the minor 5-element array formation of the mysterious yellow bead, it would not pose any problems. After letting Shi Qianghua enter the miniature world, Ning Cheng immediately rushed forward. When he arrived at the edge of the broken void island along the wind bridge, he immediately felt a powerful suction force from a whirlpool. This suction force was extremely powerful. If Ning Cheng did not have a celestial bridge cultivation, he would have definitely been sucked in. However, Ning Cheng did not forcibly retreat. Instead, he took a step forward and rushed into the suction force of the whirlpool. As soon as Ning Cheng entered the whirlpool, a powerful storm immediately swept over. Ning Cheng felt sure that even if an ordinary celestial bridge cultivator, or even an undead cultivator came here, they would not be able to stabilize their body and penetrate their spiritual consciousness. Ning Cheng was not an ordinary celestial bridge cultivator. Although he could not stabilize his body, his spiritual consciousness could still penetrate out. Moreover, he would not end up drifting around in this storm. Ning Cheng soon understood why this place was called the Bridge of Storms. Violent winds filled this place. Moreover, the direction of these winds blew and was very strange, forming one wind bridge after another in this space. These wind bridges were completely different from the breezes outside. In fact, they were extremely powerful. Ning Cheng secretly speculated that these powerful wind bridges, as long as one was hit by them, even a plundering life realm cultivator would find themselves torn apart. Thinking of this, Ning Cheng suddenly felt worried. When he left, Luofei was only at the 9th level of Crucible Transformation Realm. If Luofei still could not advance to the plundering life realm after entering this place, it would truly be a disaster. He regretted not asking about Luofei's cultivation before coming here. The more worried he became, the calmer Ningcheng became. His divine sense swept through the intertwining storm bridges. Under these storm bridges, there were countless caves that had been blown out by the storm. Some of these caves were hollow, while others looked like ordinary caves. As Ningcheng's spiritual consciousness continued to observe, he found that some of these caves were in the blind spots of the wind. In other words, there were places where the wind could not reach. After Ningcheng saw this, he felt his heart shake. If Luofei could find such a cave, it would not be a problem for her to cultivate in it for more than a decade. At this time, Ningcheng naturally would not enter such a windless cave. Instead, he swam around the violent wind bridges while his spiritual consciousness swept out. None of the caves could escape Ningcheng's spiritual consciousness at this time. After half an incense stick worth of time, Ningcheng knew that his guess was correct, because he did see cultivators cultivating in places where the wind could not reach. Moreover, it was not just one or two of them. This meant that Luofei might also be cultivating in such caves. As Ningcheng's spiritual consciousness swept through one windless cave after another, Ningcheng grew more and more anxious. He saw at least a dozen surviving cultivators. However, Ji Luofei was not among them. After another incense stick worth of time passed, a huge storm cave appeared in the range of Ningcheng's spiritual consciousness. This storm cave was at least dozens of times the size of the medium-sized storm cave in front of it. Moreover, it also had distinct levels. More importantly, there was no wind blowing into this enormous storm cave. The violent wind bridges intersected and created chaos outside the cave. Ningcheng felt sure that if an ordinary cultivator fell into this storm cave, they would only be able to preserve their lives. It would be extremely difficult for them to escape. Even if it was a cultivator in the domain realm, once they came out, the violent wind bridges would tear them into pieces. Ningcheng could not stop his body from moving forward. Therefore, he controlled the speed at which his body was blown away by the wind while his spiritual consciousness carefully penetrated into the storm cave. Not only did this storm cave contain cultivators, but it also contained more than one person. There were both men and women, and each of these cultivators occupied a place to cultivate. However, being trapped in such a place, without sufficient starry sky essence chi, medicinal pills and cultivation resources, it would be extremely difficult to advance. Most of the cultivators trapped in this place were in the plundering life realm, with only a few late-stage crucible transformation cultivators. Ningcheng's gaze swept past the cultivators one after another. When he saw a female cultivator wearing coarse robes in the corner, his eyes suddenly turned red. A lump rose up in his throat. Luofei, he finally saw Luofei. The violent wind bridge swept over, wanting to take Ningcheng deeper into the cave. How could Ningcheng take even half a step away? He raised his hand and punched out, which landed on the wind bridge. Spirit technique Sunset's Twilight. Time seemed to slow down infinitely at this moment. Ji Luofei, who was sitting in the corner, suddenly stood up and looked at the cave entrance in amazement. Chapter 630. As soon as Ji Luofei stood up, everyone's eyes focused on Ji Luofei. This immortal cave had already maintained a balance. If there were no special circumstances, no one would casually move around. Ji Luofei was at the 7th level of plundering life realm, which made her an expert in this place. But when such an expert suddenly stood up, everyone immediately became vigilant. Many people started to wonder if this woman felt that her cultivation had improved a lot, so she wanted to redivide her territory? This was because Ji Luofei's territory was not commensurate with her cultivation. With her cultivation at the 7th level of plundering life realm, she definitely occupied the best territory in this place, rather than staying in a small corner. If Ji Luofei tried to snatch her territory, it would immediately lead to another melee. Every time a newcomer came here, it would lead to a melee. Relatively speaking, this female cultivator named Ji Luofei caused the least chaos. Ji Luofei didn't attack her neighbors, but slowly walked towards the entrance of the cave. When she passed through the territory of a middle-aged male cultivator, the male cultivator immediately stood up and spoke. What does this Dao friend mean? This is my place. Ji Luofei acted as if she hadn't heard the cultivator's words and continued walking forward. Even if he wasn't Ji Luofei's opponent, the cultivator couldn't bear it in such a situation. Otherwise, he would have no place in this immortal cave in the future. The cultivator raised his hand and brought out his weapon before shooting it at Ji Luofei. He didn't kill her. He just wanted to force Ji Luofei back. It wasn't that he didn't want to kill her, but he feared that Ji Luofei would become angry. He was only at the 3rd level of Plundering Life Realm, while Ji Luofei was at the 7th level of Plundering Life Realm. Everyone stared at Ji Luofei, wanting to know how Ji Luofei would deal with this matter. Although Ji Luofei had high cultivation, she rarely provoked the cultivators here and never started a dispute. This was the first time she took the initiative to provoke them. Because of this, the cultivators here didn't have any special impression of Ji Luofei's skills. When Ji Luofei first came here, although it caused a lot of chaos, after a crucible transformation cultivator died, Ji Luofei occupied the other party's territory and didn't continue to expand her territory. Therefore, although others feared her, they didn't have an intuitive impression of her. Ji Luofei was a stunning woman, yet no one took the initiative to look for her. It was not because the people here thought that everyone was in the same boat, but because Ji Luofei's cultivation was at the 7th level of Plundering Life Realm. As such, other cultivators did not dare to look for her. Ji Luofei had a feeling that Ningcheng's aura was just outside. She could not stop herself from rushing out of the immortal cave to see Ningcheng. And at this time, someone actually wanted to stop her. How could she tolerate this? Her celestial essence completely stimulated, and a 7-colored glazed ray of light shot out. The cultivator blocking Ji Luofei's path was immediately blown away. The powerful celestial essence made it so that the cultivator couldn't even stand straight. The power of the celestial essence directly sent him flying and slamming into the cave wall. But Ji Luofei did not seem to feel anything, and still walked towards the entrance of the cave. She didn't even think that the power she unleashed this time would exceed the limits of her cultivation. The surroundings turned silent. Even the only cultivator at the 8th level of Plundering Life Realm looked at Ji Luofei in shock. He did not make a move on Ji Luofei because he was wholeheartedly focused on cultivation and had no interest in women. But only now did he realize how powerful this woman was. If he fought against her, he most likely would not be able to beat her. At this time, the cultivators in Ji Luofei's path immediately gave way. Everyone could see that Ji Luofei did not come here to snatch their territory. Moreover, Ji Luofei's cultivation had completely suppressed the surrounding cultivators. Bang! A figure swept out by the Bridge of Storms rushed in. Ji Luofei, who had been staring at the entrance of the cave, suddenly rushed up like a madman and hugged the figure in her arms. Ningcheng! Dear! It's really you. Ji Luofei's entire body trembled, including her hands, her legs, and even her voice. She could clearly see that the person in her arms was Ningcheng. No, even if she closed her eyes, she knew that the person in her arms was the one she was looking for. Ningcheng's injuries were not heavy, but he had consumed a lot of energy. Even if he had a celestial bridge cultivation, he could still walk along the Bridge of Storms. But once he forcibly cast the Dusk Spiritual Technique, he would have to stop the Bridge of Storms for a moment, or even rush up against the current. Even Ningcheng's cultivation would not be enough. The moment he cast the Dusk Spiritual Technique, the violent Bridge of Storms had completely consumed his celestial essence and spiritual consciousness. If not for his strong will and the heaven-defying Dusk Spiritual Technique, he most likely would not have been able to rush out of the Bridge of Storms before getting swept away again. Nevertheless, the storm at the edge of the Bridge of Storms still managed to tear open a few bloody wounds on his body, making him look even more frightening. However, Ningcheng knew very well that he did not suffer any serious injuries, just some skin injuries. With his body, even if he lost his celestial essence, the Bridge of Storms would still not be able to tear him apart. As long as his celestial essence and spiritual consciousness recovered, he would be able to return to normal in a short time. At this time, Ji Luofei held him in her arms. Due to his excitement, he even forgot to take out a medicinal pill and put it in his mouth. Luofei. Ningqing finally recovered. This kind of feeling made him feel so happy that he almost moaned out loud. Ji Luofei also couldn't see Ningqing's cultivation. She didn't know that Ningqing had relied on his own strength to go against the current on the Bridge of Storms. She thought that Ningqing was looking for her, and ended up getting swept into this hole by the Bridge of Storms just like her. Watching Luofei holding Ningqing and walking back to her territory step by step, the rest of the cultivators breathed a sigh of relief. At the same time, they all looked at Ningqing with some envy. Ningqing didn't look like a pretty boy, so how could such a beautiful female cultivator with such a high cultivation be so loyal to him? Luofei, I'm fine. Ningqing took out a medicinal pill and put it in his mouth. With the help of the grade 4 celestial pill, his celestial essence and spiritual consciousness quickly recovered. Ji Luofei still hadn't recovered from her excitement, but Ningqing had already fallen from her arms and stood up. The two stared at each other for a long time, forgetting to speak. It felt as if there were only the two of them in this place, and everything around them had disappeared. Time seemed to have come to a standstill, with only Ningqing and Ji Luofei in the entire space. At this time, no words could describe the excitement in Ji Luofei and Ningqing's hearts. Luofei, I'm sorry. I didn't keep my promise to come back soon, and made you suffer. Ningqing reached out and stroked Ji Luofei's hair before resting his hand on Ji Luofei's shoulder. Ji Luofei wore coarse clothes, but only Ningqing understood the reason. Ji Luofei wore these clothes back in the Chongqing province. Now that she wore them, not only did she not want her appearance to attract others' attention, but more importantly, she missed him. Ji Luofei shook her head. No, I knew you would come back. You would definitely come back. As she spoke, she stared at Ningqing. You once said that I should listen to you. So I listened to you and waited for you. I knew you would come back. Ji Luofei's mind flashed back to the time in the Chongqing province's 2-star academy. When she felt hesitant and didn't know what to do, Ningqing took her hand and said, Just listen to me. Since then, she had always believed in those words. Ningqing had told her to wait for him in the rootless Black City. Even if she had many opportunities to leave the rootless Black City, she did not leave and waited for Ningqing here. Because she believed in Ningqing, believed in the words just listen to me. If not for that crystal ball, she would not have come to the Bridge of Storms. Ningqing felt a little excited and fiery in his heart. He stretched out his hand and pulled Ji Luofei into his arms. Dear, let's stay here from now on. I used to feel a little lonely here. Now that you're here, I don't feel lonely anymore. Ji Luofei spoke with a trembling voice. While speaking, she raised her hand to help Ningqing tidy up his torn clothes. Ningqing tightened his grip. Luofei, I don't want to stay here. Let's go. Ji Luofei didn't even ask and nodded. Okay, let's go. The rest of the cultivators in the cave looked at Ningqing and Ji Luofei in shock as they walked towards the entrance of the cave. Did they want to die? To be honest, under the terrifying Bridge of Storms, the cultivators who could be sucked into this cave abode could be considered the luckiest of the luckiest. However, if they wanted to rush out of the Bridge of Storms, they would definitely die. In the eyes of the cultivators here, under the violent power of the Bridge of Storms, even if one had a powerful cultivation, they would still end up torn to shreds. Two friends, please wait. A sudden voice called out to Ningqing and Ji Luofei. Ji Luofei stood beside Ningqing with a calm expression. Ningqing looked back at the cultivator who called out to him to wait. This was a cultivator at the middle stage of plundering life realm, with a thick beard and messy hair. From this, one could tell that this cultivator rarely tidied up his image. What's the matter? Ningqing asked casually. Two friends, I also want to leave this storm cave. I'm willing to join forces with you too. The cultivator cupped his hands towards Ningqing. Are you not afraid of death? Ningqing spoke up in a calm voice. Rushing out of the storm cave, the chances of survival are few and far between. Since you and your wife are not afraid of death, then why would I, Mengku, be afraid of death? I'm already tired of staying in this damn place. Unfortunately, I don't have any like-minded friends to rush out with me. My strength alone is too weak. The bearded cultivator looked at the rest of the cultivators and spoke up in a straightforward manner. Ningqing nodded, then suddenly looked at the rest of the cultivators and asked, Is there any other friend who wants to rush out with me? As this friend just said, there is strength in numbers. Regarding getting out of this place, Ningqing did not need to waste even half a second of his attention. With his cultivation, if he couldn't get out of this place, it would truly be a joke. The reason why he said this was that it was not easy for everyone here. If anyone wanted to go out with him, then he would help them out. No one answered. Following Ningqing, a cultivator who had just come in and was still riddled with scars? They were not stupid. Ningqing laughed. In that case, let's go, friend Meng. While speaking, Ningqing had already stepped out of the cave with Ji Luofei in his arms. Chapter 631. Seeing Ningqing come out, Meng Ku quickly rushed out without any hesitation. As soon as he came out, he stimulated his true essence, wanting to resist the surrounding bridge of storms with Ningqing and Shi Qianghua. However, he immediately realized that he had taken it for granted. The moment his true essence touched the violent bridge of storms, it immediately disappeared without a trace. The terrifying power of the storm did not affect them in the slightest. Meng Ku gave out a helpless sigh. Sure enough, this place was not something that human strength could resist. In his opinion, Ningqing and Ji Luofei should have already been torn apart by the storm. Just as Meng Ku waited for death, he suddenly felt the violent bridge of storms around him weaken. If one could not die, no one would want to die. Meng Ku immediately brought out a defensive weapon. He was pleasantly surprised to find that his weapon could actually block the terrifying storm on the bridge of storms. I don't have the ability to go against the current. Just protect yourself and follow behind me. Ningqing's voice arrived, and Meng Ku suddenly realized that it was not because of his good luck that he encountered a weakened bridge of storms, but because the injured cultivator in front of him helped him block the most violent part of the bridge of storms. After Meng Ku's surprise, he immediately felt horrified. The cultivator in front of him could walk against the current of such a horrifying bridge of storms. Yet he was safe and sound. Not only was he safe and sound, but he could even help him block a part of the storm. What kind of cultivation was this? Many thanks, Senior. Meng Ku thanked his choice and spoke out in a respectful voice. Ji Luofei also looked at the weakening storm around her in surprise. She finally understood that Ningqing did not get sucked into the hole by luck, but had deliberately entered it. From this, it could be seen that Ningqing's cultivation was much higher than hers. The higher Ningqing's cultivation, the happier she would be. Ningqing, holding Ji Luofei in his arms, continued to move forward along the bridge of storms. When the bridge of storms came to an end, just as they were about to be sucked into the next bridge of storms, Ningqing grabbed Meng Ku and activated the twin wings of the heavenly clouds. Ningqing's entire person immediately escaped from the gap of the bridge of storms. In less than half an incense stick worth of time, Ningqing once again rushed out of the entrance to the broken void island. The violent suction did not affect Ningqing at all. Instead, it increased Ningqing's speed. After a few breaths, Ningqing finally stopped and put down Meng Ku. When Meng Ku looked back, he found that he was already standing on the outskirts of the void island where the bridge of storms was located. He quickly reacted. It was Ningqing who brought him out, and quickly bowed in gratitude. Many thanks for Senior's life-saving grace. Ningqing smiled and spoke. Since you are willing to come out with me, it is also your luck. You can leave now. Yes, this junior will take his leave. Meng Ku excitedly took a few steps back and quickly rushed into the void. He had been trapped in the cave for countless years. Now that he was free, one could imagine how excited he was. After Meng Ku left, Ningqing called out to Shi Qianghua. Is she elder sister Qianghua? Ji Luofei immediately knew who Shi Qianghua was the moment she saw her. Ningqing then told Ji Luofei about the matter regarding Shi Qianghua from beginning to end. Ji Luofei on hearing this felt even more sour in her heart. She did not expect that Qianghua would suffer even more than her. She stepped forward and took Shi Qianghua's hand before leaning against Ningqing and speaking. Don't think about the past. Within the starry skies, those with low strength can fall at any time. It's fortunate that we can meet again. Ningqing nodded and pulled up Shi Qianghua and Ji Luofei before speaking. Yes, it's fortunate that we can meet again. Ningqing understood this sentence too well. When he first came to the rootless Black City, He had already felt the frailty of life. In this world, without strength, one's life would never belong to them. Later, he entered the starry skies and wandered the starry skies. As such, he understood this sentence even more. Just as Luofei said, in this place, being able to live and reunite with one another was already a very fortunate thing. Luofei, why did you enter the Bridge of Storms? Was it because you saw a crystal ball? Hearing Ning Cheng's question, Ji Luofei immediately took out a crystal ball and spoke. I entered the Bridge of Storms to look for you because of this crystal ball. Ning Cheng picked up the crystal ball and swept it with his spiritual consciousness. A scene immediately appeared in his sea of consciousness. He was being chased by a swarm of exploding golden wasps into a whirlpool, followed by a female cultivator and a large swarm of exploding golden wasps. Ning Cheng finally understood why Ji Luofei believed in this crystal ball. This crystal ball was real. Whether it was him or the exploding golden wasps, all of them were real. There was even a vague shadow of Lanya inside. The only difference from what Ijuju said was that this place was not the Bridge of Storms, but a void collapse. However, why did Luofei believe that this place was the Bridge of Storms? As for how this crystal ball came to be, Ning Cheng did not doubt it. In the void, many cultivators, in order to hunt for void demonic beasts, or to spy on lone starry skies wanderers, would set up monitoring array discs in some hidden places. Most likely, when he was forced into the void collapse by the exploding golden wasps, someone must have set up a monitoring array disc nearby. However, the void collapse and the entrance to the Bridge of Storms had a clear difference, so why did Ji Luofei believe it? Can't you see that the place I entered is not the entrance to the Bridge of Storms? Ning Cheng looked at Ji Luofei and asked in doubt. Ji Luofei shook her head. You left for so many years without any news, which made me very anxious. At that time, after I confirmed that it was you, I became even more anxious. Moreover, because Juju brought this crystal ball with her, she said that one of her friends accidentally recorded it in the Bridge of Storms. Juju would not lie to me, so I immediately took Juju to the Bridge of Storms. After arriving there, I felt that the entrance to the Bridge of Storms didn't look like it. Juju said that the entrance to the Bridge of Storms would often change because of the storms. I looked at it for a while, and found that the entrance to the Void Island where the Bridge of Storms is located had indeed changed a bit. I also remembered that you also had the Jade Strip map of the Bridge of Storms, so I no longer doubted it. After leaving behind the communication pearl to Juju, I rushed in. Ning Cheng's expressions turned a little ugly. It seemed that Ijuju could not escape the suspicion. However, Luofei had shown great kindness to Ijuju, so why would she want to harm Luofei? Ji Luofei continued. After I entered the Bridge of Storms, I realized that I was too naive. It would have been impossible to save you in the Bridge of Storms. If it weren't for the 7-colored glaze that elder sister Jingxiu gave me, I would not have been able to stop the Bridge of Storms. Later, with the help of the 7-colored glaze, I managed to enter the previous immortal cave. After entering the immortal cave, I heard others talking about it. Only then did I realize that although the entrance to the Bridge of Storms had changed, no matter how much it changed, it was still different from the entrance you entered through. At that time, I realized that Juju was wrong. Ning Cheng asked in a deep voice, Luofei, did Juju lie to you? Ji Luofei looked at Ning Cheng with a puzzled expression. After a while, she shook her head. It shouldn't be. Juju and I are like sisters. Why would she lie to me? I think that after I went in, she would have felt anxious and would have tried to find a way to save me. At this point, Ji Luofei hesitated. Strangely, after I went in, I never received any message from her. The messages I sent out also disappeared without a trace. Ning Cheng sneered. Like sisters? She brought a male cultivator into our immortal cave for cultivation, and even dual cultivated with that male cultivator. I rescued her parents and brought them to the rootless Black City. Just by looking at the way she treated her parents, I realized that you as a sister are unreliable. Ji Luofei's expression immediately changed, revealing a look of anger. She had a lot of trust in Ijuju. Ijuju was an introverted girl who usually did not talk to male cultivators, yet she unexpectedly brought someone into the city master's mansion for cultivation. It had only been 10 years, Yet she had changed so much? Ji Luofei never doubted Ning Cheng's words. Since Ning Cheng said so, then it was the truth. Ning Cheng gave out a sigh and spoke, "Forget it. Let's go to the rootless Black City and say hello to Xu Xing before leaving this place." "I don't want to see her." As Ning Cheng stood at the entrance of the rootless Black City, Ji Luofei suddenly shook her head. She had always regarded Yi Zhuzhu as her own sister. If it were the other way round, and Zhuzhu fell into the Bridge of Storms, she would have done everything she could to help Zhuzhu. However, Zhuzhu's performance disappointed her. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness did not find Yi Zhuzhu's family of three. He knew that the Yi Jin couple should not have the face to see him again. Therefore, they simply took their daughter and left the rootless Black City. Ning Cheng also did not want to enter the rootless Black City again. His spiritual consciousness swept out and found Xu Xing in the city master's mansion. It seemed that he had gained the support of many people. Regarding the rootless Black City, Ning Cheng had no feelings for it. He had paid a lot for the rootless Black City. However, after he left the rootless Black City, his wife Luofei fell into the Bridge of Storms. Yet, no one proposed to save Ji Luofei. Whether or not he could save her was one thing, but whether or not he wanted to save her was another. "Let's go." Ning Cheng directly brought out the starry sky wheel and rushed into the void with Ji Luofei and Shi Qianghua. In just a blink of an eye, they left the rootless Black City. Chapter 632. Boom Boom Boom. As the lightning waterfalls descended, Ning Cheng stood in the void, letting these lightning waterfalls fall on his body. This was the first time for Ning Cheng to surmount a tribulation in the void. In the distance, Ji Luofei was pulling Shi Qianghua to help protect him. Ji Luofei looked at the terrifying thunder tribulation and felt worried in her heart. She had also crossed the thunder tribulation, but the intensity of that thunder tribulation was not even as strong as the sparks from the thunder tribulation. Could Ning Cheng cross it? Facing the tribulation in the void made Ning Cheng feel helpless. If possible, even he would not be willing to undergo the tribulation in the void. Initially, he had listened to Shen Qinyu's words and thought that the celestial river realm's three realms did not have any thunder tribulations. But now that he had just advanced to the undead realm, he sensed the thunder tribulation. To avoid facing the tribulation in the starry sky wheel, Ning Cheng had no choice but to choose avoid to face the tribulation. Because he did not know that he was different from others, he thought that when he advanced to the undead realm, there would be no thunder tribulation. Therefore, Ning Cheng crazily used perpetual moon pills to cultivate inside the starry sky wheel. As a result, a large amount of starry sky essence qi gathered within his body, which would not dissipate for a while. If he did not want to waste the perpetual moon pills that he had already used up, he would have to face the tribulation immediately. Ning Cheng had a thunder spiritual root, and was also a body-forging cultivator, who had undergone nirvana. Surmounting the void tribulation, which others feared like a tiger, was not a big deal for Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng not only had an undead realm thunder tribulation, but it was also a very powerful one. Before the first wave of thunder tribulation arcs had passed, a series of thunder waterfalls followed. Even with Ning Cheng's powerful body, under this thunder waterfall, his flesh and blood splattered everywhere. However, Ning Cheng was getting more and more happy as he continued. This time, he still did not bring out the everlasting blue Thunder City. After absorbing the thunder source, he was able to condense a thicker lightning arc. Although these lightning arcs could only scare off low-leveled cultivators, and had no effect on cultivators in the celestial bridge realm, being able to condense lightning arcs to attack opponents was already a huge improvement. In the future, as long as he obtained Lightning God Art, he would be able to grasp it in the shortest time possible. As the lightning arcs descended one after another, Ning Cheng's celestial essence and spiritual consciousness also started to grow crazily. Although there were more and more scars on his body, but Ning Cheng's heart was getting happier and happier. Strength was the true capital. As long as he was strong, he would have a foothold in the future. Kacha, a slight sound emerged. It was as if a barrier within Ning Cheng's body had been opened. At this moment Ning Cheng felt his entire body become comfortable. The celestial essence that had been congested in the meridians started to disperse like seawater, without a dike. In just a flash, The celestial essence concealed itself in the various meridians and zifu, and no longer felt the celestial essence overflowing. So powerful, Ningcheng just wanted to roar out. He finally advanced to the undead realm. Every time he broke through, his cultivation would rise in a straight line, and he would have this feeling whenever he became crazily powerful. As his celestial essence circulated through his meridians, the wounds caused by the thunder tribulation healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. His body, which was riddled with scars, quickly became extremely smooth, and the contours of his body became distinct. Undead realm, so this was what it was all about. Ningcheng raised his arm and looked at the smooth skin. He finally understood what it meant to be in the undead realm. It was the rebirth of the body. Even though his lightning tribulation was too terrifying, his ability to resist was also incomparably heaven-defying. The lightning tribulation could only cause some skin wounds, but it could not really harm his body. After advancing to the undead realm, Ningcheng believed that even if his body suffered some real damage, as long as it did not remove his roots, he could still regenerate his broken limbs. Cultivating to this day, he finally gained the ability to speak a few words within the starry skies. The real powerhouses within the starry skies should be cultivators in the heaven-seated realm or above. However, Ningcheng had confidence in himself. He believed that his undead realm was completely different from others in the undead realm. The cultivation resources he had would be enough for others to cultivate to the heaven-seated realm. This was the source of his confidence, not to mention that he was a true body-forging cultivator. Haha Luofei Qianghua, we can go to the second revenant star now. Ningcheng laughed and shouted toward Shi Qianghua and Ji Luofei in the distance. Ji Luofei pulled Shi Qianghua's hand and looked at Ningcheng's perfect naked body. Holding Shi Qianghua's hand, her palm started to turn moist, but her heart turned fiery hot. Only when she was with Ningcheng could she feel this kind of happiness. In Ningcheng's view, the celestial lord of the second revenant star was just a life and death powerhouse. Although he had a huge gap between him and a life and death powerhouse, he believed that with his current strength, even if he couldn't beat them, he could at least escape. Even an eternal powerhouse might not be able to catch up with his starry sky wheel, right? Not to mention a life and death cultivator. Besides, he wanted to go to the second revenant star to find someone. As long as named descendant Celestial River King didn't come looking for him, he wouldn't take the initiative to provoke him. Second revenant star, named Descendant Celestial River's premier starland. It was somewhat similar to Grand Culmination Starry Skies Eternal Heaven Starry Sky City, or Striking Order Starry Skies Striking Order Starland. This place was not only the residence of named Descendant Celestial River King, a life and death powerhouse, Ji Yangyao, but also the place with the richest celestial essence in the entire named Descendant Celestial River. Ningcheng took Shi Qianghua and Ji Luofei to the periphery of the second revenant star before putting away the starry sky wheel. Ningcheng came here to see if Yanji was here, and also to see if his sister Rulin and the others had come to this place. He had used his spiritual consciousness to search the supporting Taro star, but didn't see Rulin and the others. However, in the second revenant star, no matter which city it was, Ningcheng didn't dare to use his spiritual consciousness to destroy the restrictions around it. This place wasn't a small place like the supporting Taro star. This place definitely had a lot of heaven-seated experts. As the premier planet of the named Descendant Celestial River, the second revenant star not only had a large starland, but also had many Celestial River-class cities. After Ningcheng entered the second revenant star with Shi Qianghua and Ji Luofei, he didn't go to the premier city of the second revenant star, Descendant City. Instead, he went to Coherence Pearl City, a city close to Descendant City. Although Ningcheng believed that no one here would know that he had entered the immortal Jade Star, he still wanted to be careful. First, he had to go to Coherence Pearl City to inquire about the situation. For example, did Celestial River King Ji Yangyao go to the Grand Culmination Starry Sky? What did Ji Yangyao look like? Had he seen him before? In a corner of a rest stop in Coherence Pearl City, the Ningcheng trio sat down and ordered a pot of spiritual tea. When the waiter brought the spiritual tea, Ningcheng was about to stop the waiter. He wanted to inquire about named Descendant Celestial River King Ji Yangyao. At this moment, A discussion between several cultivators at the table next to him attracted Ning Cheng's attention. What you said is nothing. The day before yesterday, the Striking Order Chamber of Commerce auctioned off a quasi-spirit artifact in Descendant City. I heard that it was sold for countless permanent essence pills. That is the real treasure. In fact, it's not a real treasure. A few years ago, when the Grand Culmination Starry Skies Immortal Jade Star opened, the Wind Thunder Apricot, the Earth Origin Bead, and a top-grade flight-type weapon, the Starry Sky Wheel, appeared. Those are the real treasures. Let's just listen to these things. I heard that a Celestial Gatherer cultivator snatched away the Earth Origin Bead. That fellow really had some luck. So what if he snatched it away? Can a Celestial Gatherer cultivator keep the Earth Origin Bead? I heard people say that it is related to a good fortune treasure. What is a good fortune treasure? Does anyone know about it? I don't know about it. I don't know about good fortune treasures, but I do know that a fragment of the Good Fortune Indestructible Axe appeared in Grand Culmination Starry Skies Eternal Heaven Starry Sky City. I also know about it. I heard that it happened in an artifact crafting pavilion. Later, Heavenly Emperor Leveled Heart sealed that artifact crafting pavilion. I didn't expect that the owner of the artifact crafting pavilion would come back some time ago. This senior is also a ruthless person. He fought with the Starry Sky Emperor and finally destroyed that artifact crafting pavilion. Ningqing felt surprised. He knew that Baiqi's artifact crafting store contained a fragment of the Good Fortune Indestructible Axe. Later, Zhongli Baiqi left Eternal Heaven Starry Sky City and never came back. Ningqing never expected that after he left Eternal Heaven Starry Sky City, Zhongli Baiqi would come back and fight with another Starry Sky Emperor. According to this situation, Chuan Xinluo should not have returned to Grand Culmination Starry Sky. If Chuan Xinluo came back, Zhongli Baiqi would have to face the consequences. However, Ningqing didn't know what happened to Jian Jiao. Zhongli Baiqi might have come back with junior apprentice Sister Yan, but he would never take away Jian Jiao. If something happened to Jian Jiao, wouldn't he feel ashamed to face Zhang Wei? Thinking of this, Ningqing decided to sneak back to Eternal Heaven Starry Sky City after leaving Second Revenant Star. How about going to see Jian Jiao? But in any case, he didn't want to see his cheap master, Zhongli Baiqi, again. Ningqing always felt that Zhongli Baiqi had taught him something, which meant that he wanted some help. If this help was for the artifact crafting competition, it wouldn't have mattered. However, Ningqing feared that Zhongli Baiqi might have other intentions. With his current cultivation, he couldn't even stand a chance against Zhongli Baiqi. Seeing Ningqing fall into contemplation, Ji Luofei no longer spoke to Ningqing. Outside the Second Revenant Star, a female cultivator standing at the front of a flight-type weapon suddenly looked in the direction of the Second Revenant Star. She immediately stopped the flight-type weapon and looked at the Second Revenant Star in disbelief before muttering to herself. Sacred Master said that Sacred Lady Qianghua had been kidnapped. How could she appear in the Second Revenant Star? The celestial wheel behind this female cultivator had already formed into a huge wheel, and the surroundings looked even more vast. Apparently, this female cultivator was at least a heaven-seated expert. She was Everlasting Sacred Shrine's heaven-seated expert, Mi Jin. She had not come out to look for Sacred Lady Qianghua. But now that she knew that Sacred Lady Qianghua was in the Second Revenant Star, she would never pretend not to know. Mi Jin quickly responded. After sending out a message, she immediately rushed towards the Second Revenant Star. Sacred Lady Qianghua was the hope of the Everlasting Sacred Shrine. Sacred Master had calculated that Qianghua was the most suitable woman to become the Sacred Lady of the Everlasting Sacred Shrine. She would lead the Everlasting Sacred Shrine to a new era of glory. After the collapse of the Immortal Jade Star, Sacred Lady Qianghua disappeared, and no one knew where she went. Later, after the Everlasting Sacred Shrine investigated everywhere, they concluded that Sacred Lady Qianghua had most likely been kidnapped by a malicious sect. Now that Mi Jin sensed that Sacred Lady Qianghua had appeared in the Second Revenant Star, she did not dare to delay and immediately wanted to take Qianghua away. The cultivator who dared to kidnap the Everlasting Sacred Shrine's Sacred Lady was definitely not a simple person. Therefore, she decided to integrate herself into Qionghua's aura and sneak attack her. Even if the person who took away Qiionghua was a life and death powerhouse, they would not have noticed her approach in a hurry. By the time she felt Qionghua's aura grow stronger, her sneak attack would have already succeeded. Chapter 633. Ning Cheng was still pondering over it when Shi Qiionghua, who was sitting next to him, suddenly stood up and threw herself at him. Bang! A dull sound erupted on Shi Qionghua's body, causing Shi Qiionghua to spurt out a mouthful of blood onto Ning Cheng's neck. Ning Cheng instantly understood that someone had sneak attacked him, and Shi Qiionghua had saved him. At this moment, his anger rushed to the top of his head. Why did Shi Qiionghua suddenly consciously save him? Ning Cheng did not even think about it. He grabbed a few medicinal pills and put them into Shi Qionghua's mouth while bringing out a long spear. A violent killing intent swept out around him, causing the surrounding cultivators to retreat. Some of the seats that were close to Ning Cheng's killing power directly turned into dust. At this time, even if Chuan Xinlo were here, Ning Cheng would not be able to control his anger, not to mention that this place was just a small celestial river city. Qiionghua had suffered a lot and finally managed to be together with him, yet she ended up seriously injured because she helped him block a sneak attack. If he could endure this anger, then he would not be Ning Cheng. He could feel that the attack that had struck Shi Qionghua's body had weakened by more than 100 times the moment it struck Shi Qiionghua. However, none of this mattered. What mattered was that someone had sneak attacked him, and Qiionghua had helped him block it. Mi Jin looked at Shi Qiionghua in shock. She did not expect that Sacred Lady Qiionghua would take the initiative to stand up and help the person she wanted to kill. The moment her sneak attack struck Shi Qiionghua, she had retracted 99% of her power. Even so, Shi Qiionghua still ended up seriously injured. The powerful backlash almost caused her to spit out a mouthful of blood. If she had not retracted 99% of her celestial essence, even 10 Shi Qionghuas would have already died. It was normal for Sacred Lady Qiionghua to perceive her killing intent, as she had fused with Qionghua's aura to launch a sneak attack. To put it bluntly, it was equivalent to Qiionghua directly attacking the cultivator next to her. Therefore, Qiionghua would have felt her killing intent the first time. Moreover, she also knew that this killing intent was directed at the cultivator next to her. However, she really did not expect that Sacred Lady Qiionghua would risk her life to help this cultivator block it. When she retracted her celestial essence, she ended up suffering from a backlash. Just as this thought flashed through Mi Jin's mind, Ning Cheng's long spear had already arrived. The long spear seemed to roll up everything around it, forming a huge spatial vortex. Ning Cheng's spear wrapped around the celestial essence's killing power and the domain. The long spear within the vortex then turned into a spear line and arrived in front of Mi Jin. This was the move that Ning Cheng had comprehended from the Angry Axe's second move, Tornado. Using a long spear to display, the might of this move was equally astonishing. At this moment, Ning Cheng's domain had completely enveloped Mi Jin, making her unable to move at all. Mi Jin finally sobered up from the shock of Shi Qiionghua, suddenly risking her life, to save Ning Cheng. With a slight sway of her body, 2 white lights shot out from her hands. As soon as the 2 beams of white light shot out, they turned into ripples. Ning Cheng's powerful celestial river domain started to shatter inch by inch under these ripples, giving off bursts of cracking sounds as if something was breaking apart. Then the 2 white lights condensed together in the middle of the ripples, and in a flash blocked Ning Cheng's spear. Boom! The violent celestial essence impact force rolled up, and Ning Cheng was sent flying by this force before slamming into the wall of the rest stop. No matter how hard the rest stop was, it could not block the impact of Ning Cheng and Mi Jin's killing intent and imposing aura. As such, when the celestial essence blasted out, it immediately collapsed. All the cultivators in the rest stop immediately rushed out. Ji Luofei also rushed out of the rest stop in time with Shi Qiionghua in her arms. The cultivators who rushed out of the rest stop did not go far. Instead, they all looked at the 2 cultivators fighting in shock. One had to know that fighting in the city would result in the death of a celestial river king. These 2 cultivators truly had guts to even dare to fight in the coherent Pearl City. Not only did they fight, but they also directly turned a rest stop into ruins. Although Mi Jin managed to break Ning Cheng's killing move in a hurry, and at the same time sent Ning Cheng flying back, she also had to take a few steps back, causing her injuries to worsen. She understood that the cultivator fighting with her had not reached the heaven-seated realm. It stood to reason that she should not fear a cultivator who had not reached the heaven-seated realm. However, she still felt horrified in her heart at this moment. Even if she was injured from the backlash, a cultivator who had not reached the heaven-seated realm could exchange a move with her, without falling into a disadvantageous position. It was simply appalling. This kind of cultivator was definitely a powerhouse among powerhouses. She had never heard of a cultivator who had not reached the heaven-seated realm, and had not yet severed the Tao filth, being able to fight against a cultivator in the heaven-seated realm. But today she saw it, and it happened right in front of her eyes. She had personally tested it out and found that she could defeat her opponent with her strength. However, if she wanted to kill her opponent, it would be somewhat difficult. If she could not kill such a cultivator, and instead ended up becoming enemies, what would the consequences be? Mi Jin unexpectedly did not pursue and kill Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng landed on the streets of the coherent Pearl City, while his killing intent and imposing aura continued to rise. If he did not kill this Taoist priestess, he would never stop. Even if he had to use Sunset's twilight, he would kill this woman. Stop. After learning about Ning Cheng's formidable potential, Mi Jin did not want to offend someone like Ning Cheng. How could Ning Cheng stop? Why didn't she say anything when she sneaked up on him? The long spear in his hand once again transformed into nothingness, and then rolled up a void spear pattern. These spear patterns started out with only a few, but as Ning Cheng's spear intent gradually rose, more and more spear patterns appeared, from a few to dozens and then to hundreds. Each spear pattern brought with it a violent flame aura, which merged with Ning Cheng's celestial river domain, and swept towards Mi Jin. In front of these spear patterns, anything that stood in its way would shatter, and turn into nothingness. That's right, this was Ning Cheng's nothingness flame pattern spear. As the endless spear patterns shot towards her, Mi Jin's eyes turned even more dignified. She did not fear Ning Cheng. Rather, Ning Cheng's spear intent had already surpassed the realm of transcendent mortals. At this level, almost any spear intent could be unleashed without the slightest trace. Even if she was a powerhouse in the heaven-seated realm, she could not ignore Ning Cheng's attack. Two white lights also rolled up in a flash, and the domain of a heaven-seated powerhouse completely stretched out. When it collided with Ning Cheng's domain, it turned all the surrounding buildings into flying ash. Countless cultivators rushed out of the buildings and stood on the sidelines to watch from afar. Since the city master of Coherence Pearl City had arrived, he did not dare to stop it. He was just a cultivator in the Heaven's Mandate realm, while one of the two powerhouses fighting was a heaven-seated powerhouse. The other could fight against a heaven-seated powerhouse. How could it be simple? Did he, a puny Heaven's Mandate cultivator, want to stop it? Boom boom boom. The violent celestial essence once again rolled up, and Mi Jin's white lights once again blocked Ning Cheng's nothingness flame-patterned spear shadows. The spear shadows turned into strands of celestial essence power, which plowed out countless deep ravines on the street. As the violent power swept over, Ning Cheng was once again blown away and spat out a mouthful of blood in the air. Ning Cheng gave out a sigh in his heart. His cultivation was still too low, but even so, it could not stop him from killing this Taoist priestess. Because he had spat out a mouthful of blood, he saw the Taoist priestess falling back under his nothingness flame-patterned spear, and also spat out a mouthful of blood. Mi Jin's injuries had indeed worsened. Rather than saying that she was injured by Ning Cheng, it was more accurate to say that she had suffered a backlash from her celestial essence, which resulted in an old injury. But now, under Ning Cheng's powerful celestial essence, it was normal for her to spit out a mouthful of blood. Ning Cheng, who was still in the air, turned around and flew back. This time, the long spear turned into a spear line that even spiritual consciousness could barely see. It directly crossed the spatial distance between him and Mi Jin, and arrived in front of Mi Jin. This was the move Ning Cheng had prepared to use before using Sunset's Twilight, Traceless. Facing this move, even if this Taoist priestess was powerful, She would have to resist it with all her might. Then he would use sunset's twilight to take the life of this Taoist priestess. Even if he couldn't take the other party's life, he would at least make this Taoist priestess pay a heavy price. Senior apprentice Brother Ning, stop. Shi Qionghua's voice suddenly arrived, causing Ning Cheng's celestial essence to stagnate. Traces of Traceless had already appeared. Ning Cheng no longer cared about continuing to attack. His figure shifted sideways and arrived in front of Shi Qianghua. Qianghua, are you alright? Shi Qianghua could call him senior apprentice Brother Ning, and even speak to him to stop. Apparently, the forbidden technique she had used before had disappeared. For Ning Cheng, Shi Qianghua's recovery was more important than killing this heaven-seated Taoist priestess. Shi Qianghua did not directly answer Ning Cheng's words and only spoke up. Senior apprentice Brother Ning, Uncle Master Mi Jin has shown me great kindness. She also thought that you wanted to harm me, which is why she attacked you. Whether she was all right or not, only she knew it in her heart. However, she did not want to say it out loud. At this moment, she stared at Ning Cheng in a daze, as if she wanted to imprint Ning Cheng's entire figure into her heart. Mi Jin, on seeing Ning Cheng stop, also felt slightly relieved. She was obviously stronger than Ning Cheng, and her cultivation was also much higher than Ning Cheng's. However, when Ning Cheng went all out, she felt an extreme fear in her heart. This kind of fear was something she could not describe in words. If not for her dignity as a heaven-seated powerhouse, she would have already asked Ning Cheng to stop fighting. At this moment, Shi Qianghua spoke up. She also came over and spoke up. What Sacred Lady Qianghua said is correct. There was some misunderstanding before. Mi Jin would like to apologize to this Dao friend. As a heaven-seated powerhouse, apologizing to a cultivator who had not even reached the heaven-seated realm was a very shameful thing. However, Mi Jin knew very well that Ning Cheng was not an ordinary celestial river cultivator. Once he advanced to the heaven-seated realm, he might even be able to kill her in seconds. Within the starry skies, there was a saying, without heaven-seated, all are ants. Once a true heaven-seated cultivator advanced to the heaven-seated realm, not only would they obtain their own heaven-seated title, but they would also be able to sense the traces of their own grand Tao. Therefore, every heaven-seated starry sky cultivator was a prideful individual. How could a proud heaven-seated cultivator put down his dignity and apologize to an ordinary cultivator? However, during Mi Jin's fight with Ning Cheng, she felt a sense of fear. This kind of fear made her not want to make such a strong enemy for the everlasting sacred shrine. Chapter 634. Now that Shi Qianghua had recovered, Ning Cheng felt extremely happy in his heart. The only reason he had come looking for seeking caution was because the other party had injured Shi Qianghua. Now that Qianghua had recovered, and even asked him to stop, Ning Cheng did not intend to look for trouble with this woman in this place. He knew that he was not a match against Mi Jin. Even if he used his dusk spiritual technique, he might not be able to defeat Mi Jin. Moreover, once he used the dusk divine ability, he would never be able to show his face again. Qianghua Luofei, let's go. Although Ning Cheng did not plan to continue, he also did not want to talk to this woman. Fighting in coherent Pearl City, and causing the city to be in such a state, he could no longer stay here. Mi Jin immediately spoke up. Qianghua is my everlasting sacred shrine's sacred lady. She cannot go with you. Ning Cheng stared at Mi Jin and spoke with a cold voice. What about the everlasting sacred shrine? Today, even if your limitless holy emperor's sacred master came, he would not be able to take Qianghua away. Not continuing to fight with Mi Jin in the Coherence Pearl City was one thing, but letting Mi Jin take Shi Qianghua away was another. He would definitely not let the other party take away Shi Qianghua. Now that Shi Qianghua had recovered, he would immediately take Shi Qianghua away. Mi Jin's expression turned ugly. She did not want to offend this cultivator, but she also knew that even if this cultivator was not her opponent, with her current injuries, she would not be able to kill him. At this time, she could only look at Shi Qianghua. If Qianghua was not willing to leave, then there was nothing she could do. Shi Qianghua softly looked at Ning Cheng and spoke in a soft voice. Senior apprentice brother, I'm sorry. I want to follow Uncle Master Mi Jin to the everlasting sacred shrine to thank you for saving my life. Ning Cheng looked at Shi Qianghua sluggishly, as if his heart had fallen into an ice cave. He wanted Shi Qianghua to go with him, but Shi Qianghua herself was not willing, so what could he do? Looking at Ning Cheng's soulless appearance, Ji Luofei could not help but speak up from the side. Senior apprentice Sister Qianghua, you were also his wife in your past life. Why are you not willing to come with us? Shi Qianghua shook her head, as she calmly looked at Ning Cheng and spoke. I am the sacred lady of the everlasting sacred shrine. Since Uncle Master is here, then I must go with Uncle Master. Talking about a past life is ultimately illusory and vague. Then he turned to Ji Luofei and spoke. Luofei, your husband is a good person. Don't leave him. After saying all this, she turned to Mi Jin. Uncle Master Mi Jin, let's go back. Good. Mi Jin took Shi Qianghua and, in a blink of an eye, rushed out of the Coherence Pearl City and disappeared from Ning Cheng's line of sight. Ning Cheng blankly looked at the direction in which Shi Qianghua had disappeared at the entrance of the city. His expression was incomparably lost. It was as if the most precious thing in his life had just left him. Ji Luofei felt uncomfortable in her heart. She stepped forward and grabbed Ning Cheng's hand and spoke in a soft voice. Dear, let's leave this place. Then let's get out of here. Ning Cheng spoke, but his feet did not move. Ji Luofei was aware of everything that happened between Ning Cheng and Shi Qianghua. She was also aware of elder sister Qianghua's position in Ning Cheng's heart. However, she could not help Ning Cheng at all, and could only quietly stand by Ning Cheng's side and wait. After a long time, Ning Cheng suddenly sobered up, as he took Ji Luofei's hand and spoke with a trembling voice. Luofei, I can't let Qianghua leave like this, just like I can't live without you. I have to chase her back. Ji Luofei clenched Ning Cheng's hand and spoke. If you really can't let it go, then go chase after elder sister Qianghua. I'll go with you. Oh, Ning Cheng's eyes immediately lit up. He reached out and hugged Ji Luofei. His figure flashed, and in just a breath, they disappeared from the Coherence Pearl City without a trace. After Ning Cheng and Shi Qianghua left, the Coherence Pearl City regained its hustle and bustle. The streets were crisscrossed with ravines, indicating that two powerhouses had fought in this place. Many of the cultivators knew that when these two powerhouses fought in this place, the city master of the Coherence Pearl City was also present. Even after the two powerhouses left, the city master of the Coherence Pearl City did not come forward. Qianghua, did you remember something from your past life? Seeing Sacred Lady Qianghua constantly looking back in the direction of the Coherence Pearl City, Mi Jin gave out a sigh. She knew that Sacred Lady Qianghua must have recalled something from her past life. Uncle Master, I didn't. Shi Qianghua lowered her head. No one wanted to return to Ning Cheng more than she did. Mi Jin suddenly spoke up. You are the most suitable Sacred Lady for the everlasting sacred shrine, because you have reincarnated 9 times. However, this is also your last reincarnation, because you broke your pure-in body in your past life. If you fall in this life, you will disappear within the vast samsara, and there would no longer be a Qianghua. Apparently, she could see that Shi Qianghua had some vague impressions of her past life. As such, she might as well speak out the pros and cons of it. Did the everlasting sacred shrine choose me as the sacred lady, because I am a reincarnated body? Shi Qianghua raised her head and looked at Mi Jin with incomparably clear eyes. Mi Jin hesitated for a while, but did not speak. Shi Qianghua gave out a sigh and spoke. Uncle Master Mi Jin, I have a hidden illness. If one day I fall in the hands of the everlasting sacred shrine, do you know what would happen to him? No one knows his temper better than I do. He might not be able to do anything to the everlasting sacred shrine right now, but once he gains that ability, the everlasting sacred shrine would fall into a lot of trouble. Mi Jin remained silent. She knew who Sacred Lady Qianghua was talking about, and she did not doubt Shi Qianghua's words. That male cultivator had not even reached the heaven-seated realm, yet he was already this terrifying. Once he advanced to the heaven-seated realm, she felt sure that even a sacred master would not be his opponent. If such a cultivator wanted to do anything to the everlasting sacred shrine, then the everlasting sacred shrine might really become history. Looking for Qianghua to become the sacred lady was to carry forward the glory of the everlasting sacred shrine. However, once sacred lady Qianghua's words came true, then the everlasting sacred shrine might really fall into a great crisis. Mi Jin hesitated for a long time before speaking. Qianghua, you were a very remarkable person in your first life. Once you cultivate to a certain extent, you will be able to recover the memories of your first life. At that time, the everlasting sacred shrine would become one of the most powerful sects in the vast starry skies because of your existence. However, after you recover the memories of your first life, maybe you would be the first person to kill the man who destroyed your essence. Shi Qianghua's gaze moved away from Mi Jin and stared at the vast starry skies. Even if she recovered the memories of her first life, she would not kill that man. She was willing to do it, and being with him, she felt very happy. Seeing that Shi Qianghua did not answer her words, Mi Jin continued. In the future, when you recover the memories of your first life, maybe you will thank the everlasting sacred shrine for the choice it made for you. Moreover, you should know that if the sacred master was determined to kill the cultivator who wanted to take you away, I'm afraid that he would not be able to escape, let alone grow up. During the years you were gone, the sacred master broke through the life and death realm and advanced to the eternal realm. At this point, Mi Jin's expression changed. A moment later, a very ordinary flying cart-type weapon rushed over and stopped her airship. She couldn't even see the grade of this weapon. Ning Cheng had refined 49 layers of restrictions on the starry sky wheel, which meant that Ning Cheng had already sealed its aura. Even if an eternal cultivator did not stand on the starry sky wheel, they might not be able to see through it with their spiritual consciousness. Therefore Mi Jin, who was only in the heaven-seated realm, naturally couldn't see through it. Shi Qianghua's eyes flashed with a hint of surprise, but it quickly turned into a sigh. She had already guessed that the sacred master would advance to the eternal realm in a short time, but she didn't expect it to happen so quickly. The sacred master had advanced to the eternal realm. So what if Ning Cheng chased after her? Mi Jin also gave out a sigh and said, since he chased after you, you can talk to him yourself. It's best to make it short. I've already sent out a message. The everlasting sacred shrine's disciples in the vicinity will soon come over. Sister Qianghua is here. Luofei, who stood on the deck in front of the starry sky wheel, immediately called out in joy. Ning Cheng excitedly stopped the starry sky wheel and opened the restrictions, allowing Shi Qianghua to rush in. Qianghua, Ning Cheng called out with excitement. Although he only spoke 2 words, his eyes had already written out all the words in his heart. Ji Luofei silently retreated into the cabin. She had a hunch that Sister Qianghua should have recovered the memories of her past life. Shi Qianghua stood on the deck of the starry sky wheel and stared at Ning Cheng in a daze. Her entire body trembled. Previously, she could still endure it in the crowd, but now she could no longer endure it, nor did she need to endure it. Husband. After Shi Qianghua called out those 2 words, tears streamed down her cheeks. She had been trying to control her sadness, but with Ning Cheng chasing after her, how could she control it? For a moment, she even wanted to give up everything and follow Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng felt as if he had been struck by lightning. Qianghua called him husband, which meant that Qianghua had already recovered the memories of her past life, and knew that he was her husband. Qianghua. Ning Cheng called out sluggishly. Did you remember the memories of your past life? Wu. Shi Qianghua finally couldn't help but rush to Ning Cheng's side. She hugged Ning Cheng tightly and burst into tears. Ning Cheng stretched out his trembling hands and held Shi Qianghua in his arms. Qianghua, let's go together. Don't go back to the everlasting sacred shrine. Let's go home. Since Qianghua recognized him, then she had to go with him. There was no reason for her to return to the everlasting sacred shrine. I can't go with you. Shi Qianghua spoke while sobbing. I'm the sacred lady of the everlasting sacred shrine. If I'm not by your side, you must take care of yourself. Shi Qianghua could no longer continue. Ning Cheng's hand froze. Shi Qianghua's reluctance to go with him before was excusable. It was because she did not know that he was her husband. But now that she knew, why did she still not want to go with him? What was so good about being the sacred lady of the everlasting sacred shrine? No, Ningqing suddenly understood something. He hugged Shi Qianghua tightly and spoke, Qianghua, this is not what you originally meant. You must be worried that the sacred master of the everlasting sacred shrine would not let me go. So you don't dare to go with me, right? Shi Qianghua, seeing that Ningqing finally understood what she meant, spoke up while sobbing. The everlasting sacred shrine has many heaven-seated powerhouses. Moreover, there are only 3 of us. Once I go with you, with the temperament of the sacred master, even if you run to the ends of the earth, she will find you and kill you. Ningqing smiled and spoke to Shi Qianghua. Fool, my current strength is not as good as that sacred master. We can hide. When we have the strength in the future, we can come out. Shi Qianghua gently stroked Ningqing's hair and shook her head. It's useless. Sacred master has already advanced to the eternal realm. As long as she and I are in the same starry sky, sacred master will know where I am. Today, even if Uncle Master Mijin did not come, as long as sacred master comes out, sacred master will find us. Chapter 635. Little Sister Luofei. Mijin, on seeing Ningqing's solemn expression and overflowing with worry, also understood Ningqing's purpose for coming here. She immediately spoke up. Concealing soul blessing life is one of the 2 forbidden techniques of the limitless Holy Emperor. It allows one to conceal their spiritual soul and life essence in order to bless their future life. There are 2 ways to undo this forbidden technique. One is to use the supreme treasures of heaven and earth, constantly nurture them, and after 49 years awaken them. At that time, his mysterious yellow bead would become a real world. Qianghua would remain in the mysterious yellow bead. Even if the everlasting sacred shrine's sacred master was in the eternal realm, she would not be able to sense Qianghua. Seeing Mijin lose her composure, it showed how powerful this concealing soul blessing was. Ningqing's heart sank even more. Ningqing finally understood why the 2 were arguing. As Luofei said, Qianghua was alone in everlasting sacred shrine, which made him feel worried. No matter how good his senior apprentice sisters were, they all had their own selfish motives. However, if Luofei went to everlasting sacred shrine, he would feel even more worried. He needed to find the metal origin bead and the wood origin bead. Only by finding these 2 origin beads could his mysterious yellow bead take away Luofei and Qianghua. In addition, he also needed to find the purple Yin spirit spring. As long as there was such a spirit spring, he would find it even if he had to go to the ends of the earth. What is it? Ningqing's tone turned anxious. With that, Ningqing did not wait for Shi Qianghua to answer. He immediately rushed out of the starry sky wheel and landed on Mijin's battleship. Ningqing felt even more annoyed at this woman in front of him, but thinking that Qianghua had to go to everlasting sacred shrine, he could not do anything. Mijin sighed. According to the explanation of the concealing soul blessing forbidden technique, if someone is forcibly awakened by this forbidden technique, they should be able to slowly recover under the everlasting sacred tree. It's just that no one has ever tried it before, so there is no way to confirm it. Purple Yin Spirit Spring. Ningqing repeated the words. He had never heard of such a thing. This made him determined that even if it took a few more years, he would finish reading the book given to him by Zhongli Baiqi. This time, Shi Qianghua suddenly spoke up. In that case, Luofei, come with me. If someone is affected by this technique, they would only need to stay under the everlasting sacred tree for a few years before waking up. If someone is affected by this technique, they would only need to stay under the everlasting sacred tree for a few years before being awakened. Qianghua was forcibly awakened. I don't dare, Qianghua Shi. Mijin felt very afraid of Ningqing. Even if Ningqing lowered his posture, she did not dare to act arrogantly and quickly returned the courtesy. You don't have to worry about it, we have already gone through so many trials and tribulations. So this time we will definitely be able to get through it. Seeing Ningqing deeply worried, Shi Qianghua's tone became even more gentle. She hoped that Ningqing would not worry about her. Shi Qianghua gave a sweet smile and spoke. For me to be able to meet you again at this time, it is already a gift from the heavens. What else can I ask for? Seeing Ningcheng come back, the two of them subconsciously stopped their quarrel. You must not go. Shi Qianghua and Ji Luofei's voices resounded at the same time. Ningcheng's heart felt as if it was on fire, causing him to feel incomparably tormented. He looked into Shi Qianghua's eyes and spoke. Qianghua, I will never let you go to the everlasting sacred shrine alone. Even if I have to cross plains, I will find a way to save you. What? Mi Jin exclaimed in shock on hearing Ningcheng's words. Purple Yin Divine Spring. Mi Jin spoke up calmly. The main function of the Purple Yin Divine Spring is not to restore people who have fallen under the soul-concealing life blessing forbidden technique. Instead, it strengthens spirit techniques and reshapes the 6 meridians. However, this kind of thing is only recorded in the records of my everlasting sacred shrine. As for what it is, I only know its name. I don't know where it comes from, nor do I know its origin. I have cultivated for countless years, but I have never seen anyone sell the Purple Yin Divine Spring, nor have I heard of anyone obtaining the Purple Yin Divine Spring. Dao friend Mi Jin, Ningcheng has offended you before. Qianghua wanted to return to the everlasting sacred shrine. Although Ningcheng felt very uncomfortable with Mi Jin, he could only lower his stance. Shi Qianghua had just spoken a few words when Ji Luofei stopped her. Sister Qianghua, my cultivation is too low. If I follow him, he would have to take care of me. Besides, if we want to meet, we can leave our communication pearls and meet at any time. I'll go with you to the everlasting sacred shrine. Even if I have to take out all the time stones, I will ask the everlasting sacred shrine's sacred master to place you under the everlasting sacred tree. Ningcheng spoke up resolutely. With Qianghua in such a state, letting her return to the everlasting sacred shrine alone, he really did not feel at ease. Not only did he not feel at ease with Qianghua, but he also did not feel at ease with that sacred master. That sacred master also did not look like a good person. There was also a sentence that she did not say. She had a vague feeling that she had completed 9 reincarnations in her previous life, which allowed her to regain the memories of her first life and achieve her own Tao. It was only because she met Ningcheng in her previous life that she managed to break her pure Yin body, which led to many hardships. Husband, the sacred master values me very much and will definitely place me under the everlasting sacred tree. Moreover, if you don't go to the everlasting sacred shrine, the sacred master might not dare to do anything to me out of fear. Once you go, the sacred master would no longer have any scruples. Shi Qianghua's eyes showed some anxiety. She was worried that Ningcheng would desperately go to the everlasting sacred shrine with her. Ji Luofei came out of the inner cabin and spoke. Husband, Sister Qianghua is right. We don't have the strength right now, and we don't have any heritage. If we can only take out something to ask the everlasting sacred shrine's sacred master for help, we might as well not go. Shi Qianghua quickly spoke up. Husband, I have nothing to do in the everlasting sacred shrine. Luofei can at least take care of you. Ningcheng's voice suddenly rose. If Qianghua is forcibly awakened, would she be able to recover under the everlasting sacred tree? Ningcheng thanked Mi Jin once again before returning to the starry sky wheel. Ningcheng cupped his fists again before asking. Dao friend Mi Jin, Qianghua used the soul-concealing life blessing forbidden technique. Later, because of severe injuries, she forcibly woke up. The life forbidden technique I used is called soul-concealing life blessing forbidden technique. If one does not wake up normally, one's soul would disappear. In the everlasting sacred shrine, there is an everlasting sacred tree. If I stay under the everlasting sacred tree for a long time to cultivate, I might be able to save my life. Husband, you don't have to worry about me. After I go back, the sacred master will definitely let me stay under the everlasting sacred tree to cultivate. After I recover, I will come back to you. Shi Qianghua spoke in a soft tone without even a shred of anxiety. Ningcheng looked at Shi Qianghua blankly. He did not expect that in the end, he would have to return to the everlasting sacred shrine. Husband, I want to go to the everlasting sacred shrine with Sister Qianghua. Sister Qianghua is alone in the everlasting sacred shrine, with no one to take care of her. Ji Luofei on seeing Ningcheng return quickly spoke up. Ningqing cupped his fists towards Mijin and spoke up in a respectful tone. Dao friend Mijin, after Qianghua returns to the everlasting sacred shrine with you, I would like to ask Dao friend to help place Qianghua under the everlasting sacred tree. Even if I have to ascend to the heavens or descend to the earth, I will find the purple Yin spirit spring. Ningqing suppressed the anxiety in his heart and spoke up in a relaxed tone. Apart from that, is there anything else that can help someone forcibly awaken from this technique to recover? She had already figured it out. It was also a good thing for Luofei to go with her. Luofei's cultivation was still too low, and she could cultivate with peace of mind in the everlasting sacred shrine. If one day, she could never wake up again, Luofei could take her away from the everlasting sacred shrine, and return to Ningqing's side. Mijin spoke up in a stern tone. Qianghua is my everlasting sacred shrine's sacred lady. Even if you didn't say it, I would have asked Sacred Master to place Sacred Lady Qianghua under the everlasting sacred tree. What's more, Sacred Master would have definitely taken the initiative to do so. Seeing Ningqing clenching his fists and frowning, Shi Qianghua put her hand on Ningqing's face and spoke up in a softer tone. When I entered the eroding life cliff, I used the life forbidden technique. My husband must have used a top-grade heaven and earth treasure to allow me to move. Unfortunately, I didn't use the normal way to remove the life forbidden technique. Instead, it was because I suffered a heavy blow that temporarily removed the life forbidden technique. It even allowed me to restore the memories of my previous life. The everlasting sacred shrine recruits many disciples every year. With my qualifications, I should be able to stay in the everlasting sacred shrine as a disciple. Elder Sister Qianghua's injuries have not healed yet. You should help Elder Sister Qianghua look for healing spiritual grasses. My cultivation is too low, and it would only be a burden if I followed her. It would be better to stay in the everlasting sacred shrine and take care of Elder Sister Qianghua while cultivating. Ji Luofei understood Ningqing's concerns and comforted Ningqing. As soon as he returned to the starry sky wheel, he saw Shi Qianghua and Ji Luofei arguing about something. Ningqing felt surprised. Qianghua and Luofei were his closest people. If the two of them argued, it would not be good for him to help either of them. Mijin hesitated for a moment before speaking up. There is indeed something. But not to mention you and me. Even an eternal starry sky emperor would not be able to obtain it. Because this thing is too precious. It's so precious that we might not even have it in our world. If it did exist, I'm afraid that all the sacred emperors in the starry sky would fight for it. Qianghua. Ningqing suddenly felt shocked. He had initially thought that Shi Qianghua had recovered. He did not expect that it was just a temporary removal of the forbidden technique. Ningqing understood the meaning behind Ji Luofei and Shi Qianghua's words. Once he took out the time stone, he feared that he would never be able to leave the everlasting sacred shrine. It would be tantamount to walking into a trap. Even if he did not take out the time stone, the everlasting sacred shrine's sacred master would not let him go easily. Ningqing paused. Although the minor 5-element array formation in the mysterious yellow bead could store a miniature world, it was very unstable. In case something happened, it would be too late for regrets. At this moment, Ningqing wanted to find the metal and wood origins even more. Only when he gathered the metal and wood origins would his mysterious yellow bead be able to transform into a miniature world. Ningqing took in a deep breath and felt a sense of powerlessness from the depths of his heart. He nodded. Luofei, you and Qianghua can stay in the everlasting sacred shrine for a while. I'm going to look for something. Speaking until here, Mijin looked at Ningqing with an apologetic expression. Previously, Sacred Lady Qianghua could already move freely. Presumably, Dao Friend must have used a supreme treasure to feed it to Qianghua. Chapter 636. Second Revenant Star's Descendant City. Ningqing had stayed here for 2 months, but at this time he had disguised himself as a middle-aged man with a yellow face. During these 2 months, besides inquiring about Ning Ruolin and Yanji, he also waited for news about Qianghua and Luofei. Other than that, he also posted a message in the guild in Kuren City, looking for a cultivator with a blurry image. Ning Cheng had obtained a metal origin crystal in the border city. According to that cultivator, this metal origin crystal was a gift from someone else. As for the person who sent it, he could only draw a blurry image. During this time, Ning Cheng did not cultivate. Instead, he used his spare time to study the book that Zhongli Baiqi had given him. Currently, his spiritual consciousness was more than 10 times stronger than before. In these 2 months, he had already read through the basics of crafting artifacts 5 times. According to Zhongli Baiqi's intentions, he would have to read the book 4 more times before he could finish reading the entire book. After reading the book 6 times, Ning Cheng benefited a lot. Not only did he get to know a large number of smithing materials, he had also familiarized himself with the various smithing techniques and formations. Although he might not be able to use the methods in the book, it was a revelation that he would not be able to figure out in a short period of time. 2 months quickly passed by, but Ning Cheng did not find any news about Ning Ruolin and Yan Ji. However, he did manage to wait until Ji Luofei sent him a message. Ji Luofei and Shi Qianghua had already settled down in the everlasting sacred shrine, which made Ning Cheng feel relieved. He decided to leave Descendant City and continue searching for the cultivator, who gave him the metal origin crystal. He possessed the mysterious yellow bead, but because he was afraid that others would feel the mysterious yellow aura, he did not dare to enter the mysterious yellow bead to cultivate. Now that he couldn't bring anyone along, it made him extremely depressed. For him, the most important thing right now was for the mysterious yellow bead to gather all the 5 element origins. At this moment, he received a message from the Union. Someone recognized the blurry figure of the cultivator. Hearing this news, Ning Cheng immediately wanted to go to the Descendant City's trade union. The Kuran City Guild could issue all kinds of news and quests, and they could also accept all kinds of quests. Accepting a mission did not require star coins. Depending on the mission, multiple people could accept it at the same time. However, to issue a message or a mission, one had to pay star coins. Ning Cheng had originally released a message. Only after someone took up the task and completed it, then he would need to come back to the guild. The first reason he came to the guild was to give the guild some remuneration. The second reason was to make contact with the cultivators who accepted the quest. If someone could really recognize that cultivator, it would mean that he had taken another step forward in his search for the metal origin bead. Yang Kai didn't know if the metal origin bead was on that cultivator's body, or if it was on one of the planets like the Earth origin bead. When Ning Cheng thought of the Earth origin bead, he suddenly stopped. Although he had obtained the Earth origin bead, it was only a bait placed by several Starry Sky Emperors. It was only after Tsang Wei's reminder that he became vigilant. Could this metal origin bead be the same? Whether it was or not, it was better for him to be careful. Ning Cheng once again returned to the rest stop, and changed his appearance to that of an honest-looking youth with a celestial shatterer cultivation, before heading to the trade union. After handing over some of the celestial coins to the trade union, Ning Cheng finally met with the cultivator, who took up the task. This was a female cultivator with only a celestial gatherer cultivation. She looked a little thin, with slightly yellowish hair and a slightly blue complexion. However, Ning Cheng had a vague feeling in his heart that this person was definitely not just in the celestial gatherer realm, but even higher than the celestial gatherer realm. The female cultivator looked at Ning Cheng and spoke with a frown. I asked around, but you shouldn't be the one who issued this task, right? Ning Cheng quickly lowered his posture and spoke with a respectful tone. Senior, the one who issued the task was my master. My master went to another celestial river, and asked me to stay here for 2 months. If there is no news in 2 months, I will also leave Descendant City. I have already brought the 1 million purple coins. I don't know if Senior has any news about that person? There is no definite news, but I met this cultivator a few years ago in bright South Celestial River's Nazir Star's sacred Kuan City. As for his name and appearance, I don't know. The female cultivator stared at Ning Cheng and spoke with a calm voice. Many thanks, Senior. This junior will definitely bring this news to my master. This is the reward from my master. Senior, please check it. Ning Cheng did not ask any questions at all, and took out 1 million celestial coins and handed it to the female cultivator. According to reason, the answer given by this female cultivator did not mean that she had completed the task. However, Ningqing still did not ask much and directly gave out the reward. This female cultivator wanted to wait for Ningqing to say that he had completed the task, and wanted to reduce the celestial coins. She wanted to teach Ningqing a lesson, and then take Ningqing away. However, she did not expect that this puny celestial shatterer cultivator would be so straightforward. He did not even ask half a word before giving out the reward. She could only watch Ningqing's back disappear from her sight with a cold expression. This was Descendant City. She did not dare to do anything unscrupulously. An hour later, the female cultivator left Descendant City and went straight out of Second Revenant Star. After the female cultivator left, Ningqing immediately changed into an old man's outfit and also left Second Revenant Star. Feeling the faint spiritual consciousness imprint, Ningqing sneered. Even if you were more cunning, you would still have to drink this father's foot-washing water. Ningqing had already placed his spiritual consciousness on top of the purple coins. Therefore, even if this cultivator walked far away, he could still vaguely track him. Moreover, he felt sure that this cultivator's cultivation was not only in the celestial gatherer realm, but even higher than his own. A cultivator with a higher cultivation than him. Why would he come here to complete a task for a mere 1,000,000 purple coins? Moreover, it was even more unlikely that he would come here to cheat him of 1,000,000 purple coins. Ningqing had only issued a low-level task, and he had never thought of letting those powerhouses come here to complete it. After following her for a few days, Ningqing felt even more convinced that his guess was correct. This female cultivator had a lot to do with the cultivator with the metal origin crystal. That's because this female cultivator was heading towards Bright South Celestial River. Obviously, this female cultivator's goal in going to Bright South Celestial River was Ningqing. Although Ningqing had never been to Bright South Celestial River, he felt somewhat familiar with it. Back then, Bright South Celestial River King had given him an image card to track him. However, he never expected that Ningqing would use the image card to his advantage. Although Bright South Celestial River King felt angry, he couldn't do anything to Ningqing for a while. Later, he could only tell Ningqing to go to Bright South Celestial River no matter what. Ningqing directly put this advice aside. He didn't want to go to Bright South Celestial River before advancing to the heaven-seated realm. Now that he had tracked this cultivator who might know about the metal origin bead, he had no choice but to come to Bright South Celestial River. What puzzled Ningqing was that when this female cultivator approached Bright South Celestial River's Nazar Star, she suddenly turned a corner. Despite the doubts in his heart, Ningqing did not hesitate and also turned a corner. 2 days later, Ningqing felt that the other party had stopped. He quickly put away the starry sky wheel and used the twin wings of the heavenly clouds to carefully conceal his traces as he approached. Along the way, he only followed his spiritual consciousness imprint and never dared to sweep out with his spiritual consciousness, mainly because he feared that the other party would detect it. Now that the other party stopped, he naturally did not dare to continue using the starry sky wheel. An hour later, Ningqing finally stopped, as he felt that something was wrong. He had confidence in his spiritual consciousness. Even if he only had an undead cultivation, the spiritual consciousness extended out from his starry sky sea of consciousness could not compare to a cultivator in the heaven-seated realm. But now that he swept out with his spiritual consciousness, all he saw was a starry sky without anything else. He couldn't even feel the spiritual consciousness imprint he had placed on the celestial coins. Although he couldn't feel the spiritual consciousness imprint, Ningqing still felt that the other party hadn't gone far and should have disappeared somewhere nearby. It was just an intuition. Thinking of this, Ningqing completely converged his aura and hid his figure. Then he slowly merged into the surrounding starry sky. 1 day, 2 days. As time passed by, Ningqing still waited patiently. He believed that his judgment was not wrong. On the 3rd day, Ningqing once again felt the spiritual consciousness imprint he had placed. Immediately, a figure appeared under his concealed spiritual consciousness. Ningqing instantly retracted his spiritual consciousness. He was too familiar with this figure. It was the vague image he was looking for. The female cultivator he had been chasing for a few days had disappeared, And then the cultivator he was looking for appeared. Ning Cheng felt sure that this cultivator was the female cultivator he had seen. This cultivator brought out a battleship and stepped onto the battleship. The battleship quickly disappeared without a trace. As the battleship disappeared, Ning Cheng felt his spiritual consciousness imprint move further and further away from him. Ning Cheng gave out a sigh. The cultivator who had just left was indeed the female cultivator from before. Her only purpose for coming here was to disguise herself as the person she was looking for, and then wait for him to appear in St. Kuan City of Nazar. Ning Cheng did not continue to follow this cultivator to St. Kuan City. Instead, he rushed towards the place where the female cultivator had suddenly disappeared. If he had not seen the female cultivator disappear for 2 days, even if Ning Cheng came here, he would not have felt anything unusual, because his spiritual consciousness could not sweep out anything, nor could he feel anything. Since coming here, he had only passed by occasionally. But now, Ning Cheng knew that there must be something in this place. It did not matter if he could not feel it. He was also an Imperial Array Master who could arrange Grade 4 Celestial River Array formations. Ning Cheng threw out one array flag after another, and arranged one interference array formation after another. Half a day later, a vague array entrance appeared in front of Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng felt pleasantly surprised. Sure enough, there was something hidden here. Even he could not see through this hidden array entrance, which meant that it definitely was not of a low level. Originally, Ning Cheng thought that this place was a hidden planet or a lesser heaven domain. He did not expect it to be an array entrance. Apart from cultivation, Ning Cheng had also studied array formations the most. He could tell at a glance that this array entrance was a void array entrance. The void array entrance was equivalent to a transfer array. After entering this array entrance, one would be transported to another place. Ning Cheng kept trying to throw out array flags, trying to find a way to open the array entrance. If the void array entrance was not deliberately locked by the person who arranged it, then a skilled array formation master would have a very high chance of opening it after repeated experiments. Ning Cheng's luck was quite good. After 2 days of repeated array formation experiments, he finally managed to open a gap in the void array entrance. The moment the array entrance opened, Ning Cheng did not hesitate. He put away all the array flags outside and flashed into the void array entrance. Chapter 637. A feeling of dizziness washed over him. Ning Cheng knew that this was caused by the void array gate. The dizziness did not last long before he landed on the ground. Dense starry sky essence chi spread out, and as far as Ning Cheng's eyes could see, all he could see was a lush greenery. It turned out to be a cultivation wonderland. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept out, and found a void array entrance behind him. He had just entered from this void array gate. If he wanted to go out, he just had to step on this void array gate again. A moment later, Ning Cheng's gaze landed on an immortal cave not far away, with a void array gate surrounding the immortal cave. It was obvious that there were 2 exits in this place. Such a good place, Ning Cheng sighed. This place was somewhat similar to the immortal Jade Star, but much smaller than the immortal Jade Star. Moreover, his spiritual consciousness could cover the entire planet. Not only was this place rich in celestial essence, but it also had green mountains and clear waters, which made it suitable for secluded cultivation. The only thing he was worried about was that other than the 3 void array gates, there was no other way out of this planet. It was like a sealed planet, completely unrelated to the surrounding starry sky. Ning Cheng walked into the immortal cave, and found that not only was the celestial essence aura inside even richer, but the furnishings inside were also extremely luxurious. Unfortunately, this was just a training ground without any treasures. Even if the celestial essence in this place was extremely rich, Ning Cheng would not choose to cultivate in this place. He once again returned to the void formation that he had just entered from, and began to set up the formation. That female cultivator had disguised herself as the person he was looking for, and went to Bright South Celestial River to wait for him. As long as she couldn't find him, she would definitely come back here after a long time. All he had to do here was to set up a formation and wait for the rabbit to come to him. No matter why the other party schemed against him, he had to capture this fellow first. chain killing array, trap array, illusion array, spear intent array, axe intent array, explosion array. In the air, underground, Ning Cheng was not clear about the cultivation of the other party. But as long as he could arrange an array formation, and as long as he could think of an array formation, he would arrange it in front of this array entrance. As long as the cultivator came out of the array entrance, they would immediately be ambushed by him, who was hiding in the array formation. Then there would be a variety of trap and kill arrays that would cooperate with him to kill the cultivator. With such precise calculations, Ning Cheng believed that there should not be any problems. Perhaps when the time came, he wouldn't even need the help of any array formation at all, and he could kill his opponent with a single strike of his spear. In the beginning, Ning Cheng was afraid that this cultivator would return soon, and was also worried that he had not arranged enough array formations. However, 3 months had gone by and the cultivator had yet to return. But at this time, Ning Cheng had to remove his original array formation, and then rearrange it. After 3 consecutive months of setting up array formations, the person he wanted to trap had not returned. However, his array formation skills had advanced to the level of a level 5 array king. Since he could arrange a grade 5 celestial river array formation, Ning Cheng naturally did not want the grade 4 celestial river array formation that he had previously arranged. Another 2 months passed by. Ning Cheng estimated that he would be able to advance to the tier 6 array king level, but that cultivator still had not returned. This made Ning Cheng feel very frustrated. He had already wasted 5 months in this place, and other than reaching the level of a tier 6 array king, he had gained nothing. After arranging another grade 5 celestial river killing formation, Ning Cheng dropped down the array flags. For nearly half a year, he had been constantly setting up array formations. He was on the verge of vomiting. That fellow still hadn't returned, so he really didn't want to set up any more array formations. There was a saying that flowers do not bloom if you have the heart to plant them. Just when Ning Cheng was not in the mood to arrange another array formation, a ripple appeared on the void array entrance. That fellow had returned. Ning Cheng's spirit shook, and the long spear fell into his hands. Sure enough, after a few breaths, a vague shadow appeared on the rippled void array entrance. That's right, this shadow belonged to the female cultivator who had left before. Ning Cheng did not even think about it, and shot out with the long spear in his hand. Spear Dao Spirit Technique, Traceless. According to the strict requirements, Ning Cheng's Traceless was not a spirit technique. At best, it was a spear technique. However, Ning Cheng's understanding of the spear intent had reached a critical point, and his spear technique showed signs of evolving into a spirit technique. Coupled with Ning Cheng's deep understanding of this spear technique, when he displayed it at this time, it was not much different from a spirit technique. The traceless spear shadow was shadowless and invisible, turning the space between it and its target into nothingness before it directly arrived in front of the cultivator. The cultivator did not expect that the first thing he would encounter upon returning to his territory would be a sneak attack. The moment the traceless spear shadow enveloped him, he understood that someone had broken into his territory, and even tried to sneak attack him in his territory. In a hurry, the cultivator punched out, while his figure turned into a distorted shadow of nothingness. Boom! A powerful backlash erupted, and the long spear in Ning Cheng's hand felt like it had struck a piece of fine iron that could not be pierced at all. The spear shadow dissipated in an instant, and the murderous intent completely disappeared. Poof! Ning Cheng spurted out a mouthful of blood on the spot, and his whole body sunk into the ground. Ning Cheng's heart suddenly sank. He had tried to overestimate this fellow, but the other party's strength was still higher than he had estimated. He had occupied this place and waited for a sneak attack. However, the other party not only broke his sneak attack, but also injured him. This definitely was a heaven-seated powerhouse who had not suffered any injuries. Good heavens, this fellow really knew how to play the pig to eat the tiger. A cultivator in the heaven-seated realm had actually disguised himself as a female cultivator with celestial gatherer cultivation to take on his low-level task. Although his heart sank, Ning Cheng did not give up. The long spear once again swept out, bringing with it a series of nothingness flame patterns. Although the spear attack did not injure the other party, It had forced the other party into his seemingly infinite array formations. He had arranged so many grade 5 celestial river killing formations and entrapment formations outside. Combined with his attacks, he did not believe that he could not kill a cultivator in the heaven-seated realm. Boom boom boom. Ka 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 ka. Sounds of array formations shattering emerged one after another. Ningcheng understood that his grade 5 celestial river array formations were constantly shattering. Fortunately, his attainments in arranging array formations had advanced. If it were a grade 4 celestial river array formation, he would have no choice but to escape. He could not wait for this fellow to completely shatter his array formations. At that time, he would not have any chance other than to escape. From the looks of it, the reason why he did not suffer a big loss against Mi Jin the last time had a lot to do with Mi Jin's backlash. A true cultivator in the heaven-seated realm was truly powerful. Who the hell are you? How dare you hide in this king's place and sneak attack this king? A shocked and angry voice arrived. How was this a female cultivator? It was clearly a male cultivator. Ningcheng did not speak at all. His seemingly endless nothingness flame-patterned spear, apart from leaving some blood marks on the other party, did not achieve anything. If not for his array formations binding this fellow, he would not have had the opportunity to attack at all. Heaven-seated cultivators truly were powerful. Ningcheng took in a deep breath and rushed up like crazy. The long spear in his hand transformed into a fiery shadow. This was not a spear technique, but his maximal flame spiritual technique. The cultivator trapped by Ningcheng's endless killing and entrapment formations suddenly felt the void around him collapse, causing him to feel shocked. Was this a space-related spiritual technique? However, he immediately relaxed. This was not a space-related spiritual technique, but a false spatial collapse. An ant who had not even reached the heaven-seated realm dared to use a false spatial collapse to sneak attack him. The cultivator no longer cared about the killing arrays around him. A faint ray of light directly broke through Ningcheng's maximal flame spiritual technique and stabbed towards Ningcheng. Boom boom boom. A terrifying explosion erupted, and the celestial river flame from the maximal flame spiritual technique completely wrapped around the cultivator. Poof! At the same time, the faint ray of light that the cultivator brought out pierced through Ningcheng's chest and came out from Ningcheng's back. An arrow of blood shot out from this faint ray of light. Ningcheng felt as if his entire body was about to be torn apart by this ray of light. The next moment, his entire body would collapse, and his bones would crack inch by inch. At this moment, his body forging finally played a role, forcibly controlling the collapse of his body. Although this cultivator had severely injured Ningcheng, he also did not have a good time. Countless killing lights bombarded his body, while the maximal flame spiritual technique tore apart his clothes. Although his clothes could be considered as armor, it still could not stop the celestial river flame. A fist-sized bloody hole appeared on the cultivator's chest. Ningcheng knew that although the ray of light had pierced through him, his injuries were much heavier than the other parties. The fist-sized hole in his chest was nothing to this heaven-seated cultivator. Good, it turned out to be a nirvana body-forging cultivator. The cultivator, on seeing that he could not take down Ningcheng despite his injuries, turned even angrier. Not only did his imposing aura not weaken because of his injuries, but it even grew stronger. Ningcheng knew that this was the moment of life and death. As long as he desperately blocked this cultivator's angry blow, he might be able to win. As the cultivator's imposing aura soared, Ningcheng threw out a handful of array flags in his hand. Boom boom boom. Several rank 5 explosion array formations exploded, and then a series of rustling sounds mixed in with the explosions grew more and more intense. The surrounding space felt as if endless killing intent had swept through it. At this moment, amidst the explosions and the rustling sounds, there was only an aura of death. Ningcheng cut off all means of retreat and activated all his array formations at once. He no longer wanted to wait for the other party to break through his array formations one by one. This king wants to see what you can use to block this king after using up all your array formations. The cultivator's anger reached the extreme at this moment. His imposing aura soared as he prepared to kill this ant. He never expected that this ant would dare to kill him at this time. Wanting to kill a heaven-seated monarch with just these array formations exploding at the same time. Was this ant crazy? However, because of Ning Cheng's crazy attacks, he had to change his killing move, which he originally intended to kill Ning Cheng, into a defensive one. Otherwise, even if he could kill this ant, he would still suffer heavy injuries. If he knew that Ning Cheng's next move was Sunset's Twilight, he would not have switched to a defensive stance even if he suffered 10 times the damage. Unfortunately, there was no such thing as if in this world. When he brought out his defensive weapon, the surroundings suddenly turned silent. No, it didn't turn silent, but infinitely slow. He saw his life, just like the sun that was about to fall, turning dim and dim. It was a beautiful moment, but his heart was filled with fear. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.